allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here's Stephen.
Okay, we'll start with correspondence. Amber?
A letter from Stella Lagoon regarding Alley's Fault LLC dock application. That's it.
And I will give the financial report. Pursuant to section 125 of the town law, I hereby render the following detailed statement of all monies received and dispersed by me during the month of January 2023. We started the month with $21,080,007.13. We took in $6,599,447.51. We spent $1,541,592.61, leaving us with a total balance in our accounts. God bless you.
Bless you.
$26,137,862.03. That's the report for the month of January. That said, we'll start doing some resolutions. If anybody wants to speak to any of the resolutions, not public hearing related, just resolutions that are on the agenda, now's the time to do it. Okay. So we'll start. Meg, you want to start us off?
Whereas a vacancy exists for the position of part-time committee clerk, and whereas the town board has advertised for and interviewed applicants, now therefore be it resolved that Suzanne Hand is hereby appointed to serve as clerk to the following committees: Deer and Tick, Taylor's Island, Planning Board, Conservation Advisory Council, Green Options Committee, West Neck Water Board, and be it further resolved that Suzanne Hand is hereby appointed to serve as part-time office assistant in the town clerk's office, retroactive to 2/27/2023. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas a vacancy exists on the WMAC, the Waterways Management Advisory Council, and whereas the town board has advertised for interviewed applicants, now therefore be it resolved that Tom Field is hereby appointed to serve as a member of the Waterways Management Advisory Council for a term to expire on February 1st, 2025. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas a vacancy exists on the Waterways Management Advisory Council, whereas the town board has advertised for and interviewed applicants, now therefore be it resolved that Matthew Williamson is hereby appointed to serve as a member of the Waterways Management Advisory Council for a term to expire on February 1st, 2026. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas John Somi and Nancy Judge, 9 Nostrum Parkway, have petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove and dispose of approximately 100 feet of existing splashboard, construct approximately 100 feet of new splashboard along the outside perimeter of the dock, and replace 17 fender pilings. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, the town hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 6:10 p.m. prevailing time on the 14th day of March 2023 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to said proposed construction. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Cornell Cooperative Extension Marine Program appeared in front of the Water Quality Improvement Projects Advisory Board, the WQI, to make application for funding for the costs associated with the shellfish and habitat restoration in support of water quality improvement. And whereas the proposed cost amount is $200,000, now therefore be resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to schedule a public hearing for March 14, 2023 at 6:12 p.m. prevailing time for the purpose of determining whether to utilize community preservation water quality improvement funds for the costs associated with the shellfish and habitat restoration in support of water quality improvement project. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No, this is just a set of hearing.
Okay, so aye.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a special meeting shall be held on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 at 1:30 p.m. prevailing time to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled, a local law amending chapter 129 entitled Wetlands, to transfer approval authority from the town board to the planning board, enhance the application process, remedy the clearing inconsistencies, and clarify the new construction wetlands permit 100 square foot exemption, of which provides as follows. Summary of the proposed law. The purpose of this local law is to address administrative inefficiencies in the processing of wetlands permit applications by delegating approval authority from the town board to the planning board to upgrade the application process, cure an internal clearing inconsistency, and elucidate the new construction 100 square foot wetlands exemption. Be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to and directed to publish notice of public hearing. So moved.
Second.
That was
Is that-
a summary of the law. The law is available in the town clerk's office.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Tuesday, April 4th, 2023, at 6:10 PM to hear any and all persons either for or against the local law entitled, a local law amending chapter 108 entitled Shellfish, to create a commercial shellfish permit, remove the prohibition of returning starfish and whelks, create a shellfish permit review board, and to increase penalties, of which provides as follows. The summary of the proposed law. This is the summary. The purpose of this law is to address the inconsistency between the town of Shelter Island and the rest of the East End towns, which protect resident commercial shell fishermen by limiting the taking of shellfish to residents of that town. Further, the decrease in the number of shellfish within our bays needs to be ameliorated by limiting the taking of shellfish to residents only for both recreational and commercial purposes, along with a more robust permitting process of increased fines. Be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish a notice of the public hearing. So moved.
Second, again, a copy of the law is available in the town clerk's office.
And on the
favor?
website. So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Aye.
I confused myself.
That's all
Sorry.
right. I can.
I was like, it's on the.
Be resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Tuesday, April 4th, 2023, 6:12 PM. Hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled, a local law amending chapter 126 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, to add new parking restrictions for the intersections of North Ferry Road and Manwaring Road, West Neck Road and New York Avenue, and for certain area of Ram Island, South Ram Island Drive, of which provides as follows, and this is a summary. The purpose of this local law is to protect the health and safety and welfare of those who traverse the Shelter Island roads by prohibiting parking at the intersections of North Ferry Road and Manwaring Road, and West Neck Road and New York Avenue, and a certain area of South Ram Island Drive. Be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish a notice of public hearing. So moved.
Second?
Just a comment on that. These are three problem areas that have been identified by community and brought to our attention time and time again about the dangers of these three areas, and that's why we acted on it. And hopefully it'll make those three areas a lot safer for everybody, motorists, walkers, joggers, bikers, whatever. All right, so that's why we've done this.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Whereas Liberty Lawn Care, 17 North Ferry Road, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for a special permit to construct a commercial building to serve landscape business, building to be served on site by an on-site well and IA septic system. Now therefore be it resolved pursuant to the town of Shelter Island, a public hearing will be held at 6:14 prevailing time on the 14th day of April 2023 in the Shelter Island Town Hall for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed application. So moved.
Let me correct that to the fourth day of April. A second, right?
Yeah, 4th day of April.
No, what did I say?
14,
Oh, sorry.
that's right. Fourth day of
Yeah,
April,
March.
2nd.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Whereas the town board adopted an employee manual on February 5th, 2021, and whereas the IT committee developed a lost device policy and has recommended inclusion into the employee handbook, and whereas the town board accepts such recommendation and wishes to implement this policy, now therefore be it resolved that the following amendments shall be included in the town of Shelter Island employee handbook. Everybody please get comfortable. Lost device policy, the IT department shall maintain a master list of all devices and employees to which a device was assigned, along with the purchase price, the year, the date of assignment of the device. Receipt of issued device shall be acknowledged by the employee's signature on a Shelter Island town receipt. Those who are issued town electronic devices such as tablet, cell phone, or laptop should exercise good judgment and care when in possession of such device. Any lost, stolen, or damaged device must be immediately reported to department head and IT department head to ensure that the IT department can execute all necessary cybersecurity steps. An employee who has damaged the device intentionally or through misuse or negligence, or who has lost the device through similar circumstances, may be held liable for the cost of the replacement and/or repair. Department head shall investigate the circumstances of the loss or damage and shall determine whether the replacement of the device should be paid by the employee, by the town, or whether the replacement cost should be shared. This consideration shall include the number of previous lost, damaged device offenses, the price and age of the device. The department head shall coordinate with the IT department to determine prorated purchase price if applicable. If employee opts to use his personal device in lieu of assigned device, then they have to get written approval from the IT department. Personal devices routinely used by an employee that are not typically issued by the town are excluded from this written approval. Use of a personal device. An employee must immediately report to department head and IT department any personal device used for work that becomes lost, stolen, or damaged to ensure that the IT department can execute all necessary cybersecurity steps to protect any town data that may be on said device. Claims for reimbursement for personal property. An employee's personal devices that become lost or damaged during the performance of assigned duties will be reimbursed in accordance with this policy. Claims for reimbursement for personal property must be submitted to department head. The department head shall investigate whether reasonable care was taken to prevent the loss or damage. Upon review and finding that no negligence was involved, repair or replacement would be or may be recommended by the department head. If the department head has a budget line to cover the claim, they will complete the necessary paperwork to authorize payment. In cases where the aforementioned is not applicable, the department head will then forward the claim and a report of the investigation to the town supervisor for review and authorization of payment.
So moved.
So moved. I didn't realize it was going to be resolved.
I think you said a mouthful, though.
Again, this is, we keep saying that, town always does things, and sometimes we're told that, well, that's not what it says in the books.
Right.
So we're just trying to, make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's.
Plus the cybersecurity thing.
Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Whereas on April 29th, 2022, the town board enacted Chapter 52 of the Town Code entitled the Community Housing Fund. Whereas said fund serves as a repository for monies to be used in connection with the creation of community housing opportunities. Whereas the town board pursuant to, didn't we already do this?
No.
Oh, sorry. Whereas the town board pursuant to mandatory referendum created a 0.5% supplemental tax on real estate transfers as a revenue stream for such community housing opportunities. And whereas pursuant to section 52-6, before any monies may be expended from the community housing fund, a housing plan must be adopted and adhered to. Whereas the town board retained Nelson Pope and Voorhees to work with the community housing fund advisory board to draft said plan. Whereas the town board solicited public comment on said plan via a survey, along with 2 public forums and a town hall style meeting and 2 public hearings. And now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby adopts the Town of Shelter Island Community Housing Plan dated January 2023. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute and support the maintenance service agreement and expend the sum of $26,100 from the 2023 A1620.476 computer services account to East End Computers LLC for the EEC annual managed service contract for the period of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the town board has determined that the community center, 1 Bateman Road, is the best location for conducting elections and early voting on Shelter Island. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute an agreement with the Suffolk County Board of Elections to permit the conduct of elections and early voting at the community center in 2023 with an option to renew for 2024. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And just as a footnote to that, we're trying to take the elections out of the school gymnasium for a bunch of reasons. There will be an ADA compliant ramp in front, so as you look across the street at the community center, that is being completely redone. So it makes more sense to bring the elections there rather than to bring people into a school building where security is very, very, very tight. So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Whereas the town board issued RFPs for a consultant to assist with the completion of updating the comprehensive plan, and whereas BFJ Planning has submitted a proposal, whereas BFJ Planning has been interviewed by the board and their proposal has been reviewed and found to meet the necessary requirements for acceptance, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor or designee is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents in connection with retaining BFJ Planning to assist with the completion of the town of South Island. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that resolution number 93-2023 is hereby amended to read as follows. Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute and expend the sum of $1,100 for the agreement between Penflex Service Awards and the town of Shelter Island for the preparation of the GASB 79 package for the Volunteer Ambulance Awards Program fiscal year ending December 31, 2022. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Be it resolved that the following 2023 budget modification is hereby approved. $299.50 increase to the A4389 federal reimbursement public safety account and $299.50 increase to the A3120.487 uniform allowance account. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Be it further resolved that the following funds are hereby encumbered for 2022 to be expended in 2023 with 2022 funds, to wit, $1,180 from the A8160.438 landfill processed concrete account and $2,050 from the A8160.439 landfill demo concrete out account. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the supervisor hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $603.11 from the A3120.491 Police Department contracts account to Car Business Systems for the billing contract period 1/24/23 through 1/24/23/24. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to sign and expend the sum of $1,350 from the A1490.496 account to ChargePoint Inc. for the charging station rental fees and service period of December 11th, 2022 through December 11th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $2,132.75 from the A3120.491 PD contracts account to Lexipol LLC for yearly service agreement. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $10,857.38 from the A3120.491 PD contracts account to Central Square Technologies for the annual maintenance fee of 6/1/2023 to 5/31/2024. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Down to two, folks. Be it resolved that 2022 general accounts number 2296 through 2314 in the amount of $41,827.63, it should be 63 cents, I would think, right?
Yes.
And 2022 highway claims number 283 through 286 in the amount of $4,423.88. And the 2022 community preservation claim number 25 in the amount of $1,411.32 are hereby approved for payment as audited. The supervisor and/or any town board member is hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval up for payment of the same. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the 2023 general claims number 95 through 286 in the amount of $100,578.03, and the 2023 highway claims numbered 8 through 29 in the amount of $35,230.28, and the 2023 community preservation claims numbered 2 through 3 in the amount of $78 are hereby approved for payment as audited, and the supervisor or any town board member is hereby authorized and directed to approve payment of same. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
One more? That's for
Yeah,
later.
it's, yep.
Okay. Okay, let's see what time the first hearing is set for.
6:10.
6:10.
So we're good to go.
Okay, we're going to recess our meeting and open a public hearing on the Peter Levinson 23 Winthrop Road dock repair application. Amber?
The application of Peter Levinson, 23 Winthrop Road, to replace existing dock boards on section of dock.
Yeah, the WMAC met on February 6th, 2023, and there was approval.
Or nothing, yeah,
I'm sorry?
or nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any comments on this application? Okay, we're going to close that hearing and open the hearing on the William Cummings and Bernd Heiberg Svenby, 10 Thompson Road dock application. Amber?
On the application of William Cummings and Bernd Heiberg Stenby, 10 Thompson Road, to construct a new set of lower stairs with 3 platforms, construct a 4-foot by 30-foot catwalk, supply and install a 3-foot by 15-foot aluminum ramp leading onto a 6-foot by 12-foot floating dock with a 6-foot by 12-foot L secured with 3 anchor piles.
We also met on the same date of February 6th. We only had 4 members physically present in the room. We had 2 other members actually that were on Zoom, but they are not allowed to vote according to the new rules. So the vote ended up, unfortunately, with a deep number, which doesn't often happen, 2-2. And it was, we were both, BJ and I are liaisons to that committee. We're sitting out in the audience. They kind of directed their attention back to us and said, what do you guys think? We both said, well, that's really not our place, but we did voice our opinion in favor of this particular application. So,
What were the concerns? Yeah.
you can,
The code said your dock can be as long as 100 feet, or you get to 4 feet, right? And this dock is at 57 feet, all included,
right.
and it gets to 4 feet at less. Probably, am I right, Jack? Maybe about 10 feet?
It was about 5 feet.
About 5?
5 feet, let's, yeah.
5 feet. So the argument against was, well, that the code says, and the arguments for were, it's not egregious. It's 57 feet, it's in line with the other docks in the area, and there is some tendency in this location for silting, and so the worry was if we really cut it right to then, maybe we're coming back in another couple of years for more length. And so that was sort of the pros and the cons. One was strictly about the code, and the other was if the ask is not, it's not bad.
Jack?
Just here to answer any questions, Nancy.
Yeah. And it didn't interfere with navigational channels or anything else. So we that wasn't the issue. It was a question of when we reached 4 feet, and it was a 5-foot differential, and we felt that was, really not significant. And that area is prone to build up of sand and silt. And we obviously said, in fairness, the 5 feet is not, it's definitely shorter than some of the adjacent docks that were around there. So we, BJ and I, shouldn't be voting, but we were both liaisons. It does come back to us. All these things are recommendations, by the way, anyhow, even if it's a 7-0 vote. So the liaison does bring that, our job is bring the report back, tell you like it is, and then have the 3 of you listen to that, and whether you're, convinced that we are making the right judgment here, and we'll do that during the vote.
Normally the conversation is people want more than 100 feet. This is the first time I'm hearing less than 100 feet.
57.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? Nobody in the Zoom audience? Okay. Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay, we're going to close that hearing. We're going to open the hearing on the Emmett McCann, 20 Westmoreland Drive mooring application. Amber?
On the application of Emmett McCann, 12 Westmoreland Drive, to install a mooring in West Neck Bay at a location designated as latitude 41.0615, 25 degrees north, and longitude 72.35, 83.70 degrees west.
So we met on February 6th. There were two concerns here that they ended up approving, but that this should not be a private mooring, it should be riparian. The second thing is the exact location. we're finding that a lot of people don't like the dock right in front of their house. They bring it over to the neighbor's house, closer to the neighbor's house, in the 25 feet, I think that's right, James, right? 25 feet buffer area. But, so the recommendations here were simply call it a riparian and also to bring it more in front of their home. Yeah, we had no problem with it. It's a simple fix.
Any comments on this one? Are the coordinates correct? We have to adjust that.
No, the new location is correct. The one that you just read was exactly where we want it.
Okay, going to close that hearing and open the hearing on the Alphinist LLC, 44 Gardner's Bay Drive, special permit application. Amber?
On the application of Alphinest LLC, 44 Gardner Bay Drive, for the redevelopment of residential property to result in a single-family dwelling, accessory pool house with sleeping and conditions.
Hey, anybody here for, is this one of yours?
Yeah, I'm here for Alphinest. I'm here with a couple of the architects as well, the landscape architect, but
We haven't
got the,
It's 44 Gardner's Bay Drive, right?
yeah.
So they were listed,
This is CAC?
this is CAC. They met on February 13th, the week after. They had 3 recommendations. Matt heard them all that night. And I think agreed to all 3 of them, right? I think there was pretty no-brainer. And they're mostly modifications on the application. Page 4, item D, environmental concerns, the need to check yes, to impact the aquifer, on the impact of the aquifer, because your water analysis indicates a 19.5 GPM increase, so they wanted yes. Just that's a simple check off from no to yes. Number 2, submit a vegetation plan. Matt Sherman indicated that there were 2 plans submitted and that they needed to be some clarification made on the plan itself, more specific as to the type of vegetation, added plants, distances between plants and trees, etc. Might consider the addition of new species of plants and trees on the property. So that Matt took that under advisement, said he would talk to his clients about that. And number 3, submit a new irrigation plan to support the new plantings on the application. It was noted here that Edmund was on the call, I think at that particular time, represented this portion of the application and stated the following. No regrading of the property, the addition of the 3 separate IA septic systems, which is, pretty impressive. Leaving a good, the existing pool and tennis courts in the exact same location was very helpful because there was less disturbance of the property. And preserving every healthy tree on the property was a goal of what they were trying to do. So taking into consideration all of those pluses, CAC voted unanimously to approve this application with those recommendations.
Okay. Planning board?
I do it.
I can do it.
I had it up as well.
So the planning board looked it over, and so their recommendations were, so if the proposal has a hard-true tennis court, which does require watering, and they noted that there's no cisterns in the plan, so maybe add a cistern for watering the tennis court and any irrigation. And then a auto cover and cartridge filter for the pool. And then they said that the property next door, it's the size of the lot is 6 acres. So it's kind of in keeping with the neighboring properties that are also kind of oversized homes on oversized properties. And then it utilizes IA systems. And so with all that taken into consideration, they did recommend the approval of the permit. And they said that, all the construction is taking place outside of the wetlands area.
And he also said that we should consider well pumps and holding tanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Matt Sherman, Sherman Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the owners at Alphinest. As I mentioned before, the landscape architect and the architect are here with us tonight. If you have any questions regarding those items that I'm not able to answer for you, I've got a fairly quick, hopefully, PowerPoint that I'd like to run through, kind of give you the basics of the project. I will get to the different items that the CAC and the planning board had discussed. So the property's out at 44 Gardner's Bay Drive, 6 acres. It was developed in conjunction with a couple other properties on the same general area, one to the right, which was recently in front of you all for 42 Gardner's Bay Drive for a special permit application. As it's currently constructed, there is a single-family dwelling. There is a legal pre-existing accessory dwelling, so full dwelling with a kitchen, 2 bedrooms and a kitchen. The Hard True tennis court is existing, and the tennis court is, and the swimming pool is existing. And there's also a number of other accessory buildings, barns, sheds, support structures throughout the site. What we're proposing is to remove the existing dwelling, a couple of the existing accessory structures. I'll point into this, and I'll zoom into this here in just a second as well. So the existing house, let me back up for just a second. This is the existing house right here, basically in the northerly middle part of the property. Tennis court is down here to the southerly part of the driveway area. And the swimming pool is right up over here. The 100-foot wetland setback is this curved line that comes through here. So everything, all of the work, the existing and the proposed work is significantly landward of that wetland setback. Currently, the cottage, which is right here in about the middle of the property, a little bit to the south of middle, that's pre-existing non-conforming in a number of different ways. Number one, it's a second dwelling unit in the Nearshore Overlay District. Number two, it's too close to the side yard line. We've got AA zoning setbacks, so a 30-foot zoning setback would be required for this building. It's at about 15 feet from the property line, so it's non-conforming in a couple of different ways. So this is what we're proposing. Since my cursor is there, that's the cottage. It's remaining as conditioned living area, but we're taking all the plumbing out of the building. So it can't be used for accessory sleeping. It's not an accessory apartment or anything like that. The building is staying because of the historic nature of the building and the charm that it adds to the site in that area, but all of the plumbing is coming out of it. The tennis court remains, Hard True court as it is today, is as it will be tomorrow. They're going to refurbish around the court, but the court itself will remain as is. New driveway wraps in this circle around the existing garage. It's going to be rehabbed and a shed to be rehabbed. And then the main dwelling is basically going over the same footprint with an expansion over top of where the existing dwelling is now. As mentioned before, the swimming pool remains, same place, same location. We're not touching anything on the pool in and of itself. And then on the seaward side of the pool, we're going to put a 2-bedroom pool house with 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So the buildings that we're talking about, and I know it's a little bit hard to see just because we were trying to kind of give you a general idea of what it was we were looking at and the size of the building. This is the basement plan. In the basement, we've got a large mechanical area. We've got a bedroom. We've got a wine cellar, laundry room, things along those lines. The total square foot living area, so the conditioned space, which is in pink here. So all of those areas total 1,276 square feet in the basement. For the first floor, total square foot living area, 3,233 square feet. We've got your typical first floor type of things: kitchen, family room, dining room, study. There's 1 bedroom, 1 full bath, and 2 half baths on the first floor. The second floor, it's a little bit smaller than the first. It's 3,089 square feet. And we've got 3 bedrooms and a total of 5 bathrooms on that second floor. That's a front elevation just to give you an idea. I know this isn't an architectural review, but just to give you an idea of what the elevation of the house is going to look like. It's a side elevation. And then this is the pool house. So when you're at the pool looking out toward the water, this is going to be in front of you. So you've got the main living area, like a lounge area in the middle of this pool house. and you've got a bedroom flanking it on either side. They were first looking at keeping that existing cottage as the accessory sleeping structure, just taking the kitchen out of it. But for the purposes of having something that could also function as support for the swimming pool, that's where they decided to put the pool house in and remove the plumbing and the sleeping area, accessory sleeping portion of that existing cottage. So this is the floor plan of the existing cottage. Again, it's still remaining conditioned space, but all of the plumbing is coming out. These are the elevations. This is something interesting about it, and one of the reasons that they wanted to keep this. Back in the mid-'60s, the cottage was moved here from Gardner Farm. And I asked my dad if he knew where Gardner Farm was, and he didn't know. So I don't know if anybody here knows where Gardner Farm was. But when Sylvester Prime first developed this property, he moved the building over from there. So it's got a cool history to it. This is one of the accessory buildings. It's got living space in, or what we're calling living space. It's 57 square feet. It's a conditioned bathroom. This is the barn. So what we've got happening here, it was mentioned, I forget if it was the CAC or the planning board, had mentioned that we're putting in 3 IA units. One of the IA systems is to serve this bathroom. It's far enough away from the other systems that it doesn't make any sense to try and get the septic there by either gravity flow or by pumping it. So this bathroom in and of itself is going to have an IA system. It's not a health department requirement. As far as they're concerned, we could put in a small conventional septic, but because of the town code, we're putting in an IA system for this building. We're putting in a dedicated IA system for the pool house, and then a dedicated IA system for the main dwelling.
Is that a shower?
Yes, it's a full bathroom,
Why would you need a full bathroom in a barn?
because it's for the maintenance workers. One of the things that the CAC had mentioned was that we had not provided a landscape plan. One of the reasons why we didn't provide a detailed landscape plan is it's not a requirement for a special permit application. So we had given a basic rendering of what the overall vegetation was going to look like, but we didn't go into any great detail. We had developed them, which is why we were able to include them in the presentation, and I'll provide the board with scaled hard copies of those landscape plans so that you've got them. But basically, we're keeping all of the existing vegetation on site that we can. All of the trees, most of the trees are going to remain, and then they're going to add to them as Justin with Hollander Design, who's here this evening, can, if you've got any questions on that, he can elaborate on the landscape design. Let me see, I can zoom in on this one. So like here by the main house, the main driveway, we're adding hollies, we're adding dogwoods, some birches, things along those lines. All existing trees are going to remain. That's in this area here around the main house. Probably a little bit hard to see that cursor, but they're doing their best to keep all of the substantial existing trees that are there now, and then just fortify them and add to them with additional new plantings. That's what I've got as far as my presentation and what the project entails. Just to answer a couple of the quick questions for the CAC, yes, I will. Thank you. The CAC had asked about the vegetation plan, so we'll provide that with you, and just wanted to show you that we've got it. We also wanted to note again, reiterate to the board that there will be no regrading. There's no significant earthwork going on. As part of the application package, we did submit the stormwater pollution prevention plan. So the board has all the information as far as the stormwater control that we're doing both during construction and after construction. The new IA systems, the existing pool and tennis court are going to remain. That also goes to what the planning board had mentioned about the hard true tennis courts. Planning board did have a recommendation about putting an automatic cover on the swimming pool. Since we're not modifying the pool at all, in order to put an automatic cover on, basically we're gonna have to take the whole top portion of the pool off and rebuild half, maybe a third of the pool. So we would prefer if we're not obligated to do that, because it's going to require a significant rebuilding of that swimming pool in order to put an automatic cover on it. The low flow well, I actually proposed it in the application, a 5 gallon per minute well with a 300 gallon holding tank. The water in this area, it's not like a lot of the other outer lying areas of the island where we've got a very, very thin freshwater lens that we're pulling from 10, 15 feet. The freshwater lens in this area is 30 or 40 feet deep. So the concerns of having a low flow well, they're nowhere near the same here as there are in other areas. With that being said, we also recognize the sensitivities that the island has about these areas, and we can accommodate for that. So that's why we proposed that 5 gallon per minute well with the holding tank. So as far as those comments and concerns, recommendations by the CAC and the planning board, with the exception of the automatic cover, we're all.
Matt, is there a pre-existing irrigation system?
Yes, there is. It's grandfathered in, yeah.
That's a little bit of a concern,
Yeah.
Especially with the tennis court.
Yeah, and
You recommended a cistern.
yeah, the tennis court, and also we looked at a cistern for automatic for, a topping off of the swimming pool.
Right.
Especially in the case if we're not going to be putting in an automatic cover on it, then a cistern to top that off, 1,000 gallon cistern, it makes perfectly good sense for the swimming pool. I'll let Justin, he can elaborate on the irrigation needs of the landscaping. I don't know how much information Justin has on the Hard True tennis court, but that is, we do recognize that is a concern.
And then the other question, could you go back to the basement?
Yeah.
Matt, you said the pink is the conditioned, what's all the rest of the open space?
Yeah, here, I'll zoom in on it.
Okay.
I think we would have figured this out. Second for this to kick in.
Yeah, the internet's been slow in here. It's been painful.
It's fighting with me. Let me do it this way. Let's see.
Leave it that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got a blow up in your
Yep.
packet of information. So if you can see, you've got the area underneath the semicircle. That's just unfinished storage. And the area to the right-hand side is the same. And then on the far right-hand side, there's some light gray lines you can see on the screen. That's slab at grade above.
I would just,
Me?
Yeah, we're on a delay.
I sound pretty good, huh? You do. Thank you.
I like to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly, yep. Feedback. So the square area near the top of the screen is a mechanical room. To the right of that is a powder room.
I'm not worried about the,
Okay.
I'm worried about the unfinished.
The unfinished, just,
The only thing I want to say is, if you're going to do something, do it now.
yeah, we
Not
talked
after
about
the
that.
fact.
And actually, we have talked about that, and it's unfortunate that the process is as it is, where these plans have gone through, I don't even know how many different iterations to get to what we're at here. And one of the things that we had looked at, if you're right on the borderline, if you're at 5,980 square feet, then you give up something so you stay under 6,000, so you don't have to go through a special permit. If you're already over and at 9,000 square feet, if you want another 1,000 square feet of conditioned storage, you certainly ask for it. That's where the cottage, that's why we ended up asking for the cottage, because they said they may want conditioned storage. The building's already there, it's already insulated, it's already conditioned. That would serve as an extra conditioned storage area if the need arose. That area that's there in the basement will not be a conditioned storage area. Yeah, but I appreciate the question, because don't come back again for something later. Yeah.
Okay.
The only comment I have, Matt, I'll go back to the swimming pool. I know it's a rectangular pool, so just that the owner understand that I know it's an initial cost, and it could be $25,000, $30,000 to modify a top third of the pool. But when you think about temperature, think about using it in May, using it in September into October. When that pool cover's on there, you get an extra 2 months use. The amount of chemical that you use is greatly reduced because it just doesn't burn off as quickly. The cleanliness of the pool, you keep the pool a heck of a lot cleaner with that cover on there. So I know it's an investment. I know this is a large job, but just something to consider, because I have one, and I'll tell you, I wouldn't go without it. And the biggest thing for me, other than the chemical and cleanliness, is being able to swim until, Columbus in comfortable weather. I mean, if the temperature drops to, 65 degrees during the day, pool is still 75 degrees. You can go in and you get that much more use out of that pool. So if you add that over the life of the pool, and it may cost you a couple $1,000s a year, if you divide it up by 12, 15 years, but what you're saving in terms of chemical and everything else and the additional use, it's a consideration that you might want to just discuss with them.
And on that note, I'm going to punt, and I'm going to ask if either one of the architects has any more insight into the swimming pool and any considerations that may be, if you
Not a
could.
requirement, but it's just something that, when you.
That might make sense. So I think we could just go back to our client and talk to them and see if that's something that it would consider or would require probably building the deep end out so that they have a shell to have an automatic track. I'm sorry, I'm Justin Willard, but Hollander's on. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But I think it's definitely, something worth bringing back to the client to.
In a lot of ways, it's saving water, and I didn't even mention evaporation and stuff. It does save a lot of water, chemical, but the extended use. And when swim season up here is really, June, July, August, but you get May out of it easily, and you get September and October out of it, it's really well worth it. I find people coming out earlier, coming out on Columbus weekend, it's always nice to be able to open up the pool. Again, it's an initial investment.
The real concern with the town board is the conservation of the water.
Yeah.
Because also it's the water demand analysis.
Correct.
It's an increase of 13.5 gallons
Right.
per minute.
Yeah,
So,
that's a big factor.
yeah, so
It's a
I don't
big
want
factor.
to have to worry about
Yeah,
telephone.
redo the coping anyway, so.
Yeah, so if you're gonna do that, then it's something to really consider.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the architect?
No, just from Matt. Matt, what's the growth here? I just curious.
Original house compared to new.
Original is 4572. And the new total is 96. Let me see, I got it written down.
Well, the percentage of the original house it's being, so whatever the.
Oh, the original house-
Old house, the original house to the new house, not necessarily all the other structures.
Not the other structures? I think that 4572 does not, I think that includes the cottage. So you're at 3,300 square feet, give or take, for the existing house. And you're at 7,600 for the new house,
Okay.
What's the total acreage?
6 acres.
What was the first figure? So we're going up to 7,600.
33.
Right.
It's 7,598, so 7,600 for the proposed structure. The existing is 4,572 minus 1,241. So I just ballparked it at 3,300.
So I think in fairness to other applicants, what's the totals?
Oh, the total is. That is.
Doubling the size of that.
Right.
Yes, the house is doubling.
0.3, 130%.
96, let's see. That's building area coverage footprint.
70.
SFLA total, the garage, all that stuff, 9607.
Okay. And the 4572 is total?
Existing total.
Yes, I mean.
Existing total, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, total lot coverage is going from 2% to 3.6%, but.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, sorry.
You go, Stephen.
No, I just wanted to follow up on, you're doing a renovation of the original house, correct?
Not a
It's
renovation.
a demo.
No.
Okay, so it's basically a complete demo, is that?
In essence, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So just the pool house, are you proposing a full kitchen?
No,
Okay,
no, we can't do a kitchen in the pool house.
okay.
Yeah, because of the near shore overlay district, we
Right.
can't have the
I was
accessory
just wondering if you were
building
trying to
sleeping.
transfer the full
No.
nonconformity to the new structure or
No.
just the,
No,
okay.
absolutely not. And that was actually one of the primary benefits of this project is we're getting rid of that non-conforming accessory dwelling unit, and it's coming off site. So you've got a near shore overlay property without two dwelling units on it.
Okay, that was my question.
Here we come again, what's a kitchen? There's a kitchen sink, right?
Not by town code.
No, but there's-
Yeah, it's gonna have like a wet bar. A wet bar is how I refer to it. And, you know, like you would expect to see in a pool house, you know, people are gonna be.
People are
you
going to
know,
bring their drinks in from the
yeah,
pool and dump them
entertaining.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the town board?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Anybody in the Zoom audience? Okay, we're gonna adjourn that hearing?
Close it.
Gonna close it?
No,
I don't think
oh,
we
you're going to adjourn it.
Pam has her hand up.
Yeah, I think we wanted to adjourn it so that, we'll talk about it at a work session in case we have more questions. Come back to the,
Yeah.
Pam?
Yeah, okay. Actually, Mr. Supervisor, I'm glad to hear that you're going to adjourn it. Since we'll be able to see that vegetation plan that Mr. Sherman said he
Yes.
has.
Yep.
And then the concern about the irrigation system, that's grandfathered in, I don't know. I'm still confused about the irrigation because there was concern about one of the meetings, I guess it was the CAC, was temporary irrigation for the landscaping that they want to do. So we don't really know what the landscaping is or the irrigation system that might have to be upgraded for that or how long they may have that in operation. And again, it just goes to the water usage on the property, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think that's why we wanna keep it open so we can discuss it and come back with questions.
And I'm just curious about the bathroom in the barn as well. Does that not make it some sort of a livable space then, which would then make it a second accessory building on the property?
It's
Stephen?
conditioned.
I realize that you're getting a waiver on the cottage because it's existing and the new pool house is a new one, but putting a bathroom in the barn seems to add another accessory building that I don't believe is allowed. I'm just throwing that out there.
You can have.
Condition.
Say again, Steve?
You can have you could either have an accessory apartment or you can have a quote unquote guest house with no kitchen, just sleeping quarters.
Right, what she's
Question
saying,
was the bathroom in the third building, does that open up any doors?
No, I wouldn't say it does, but we'll look into it.
All right, so, yeah,
As far as her irrigation question, Matt, you're gonna have to look at 82.6E, because you may be losing your grandfathering because you're substantially reconstructing or demoing and reconstructing, so you may have to convert to a system.
Understood.
any other
Okay,
questions, comments?
No,
Ma'am?
just one other comment about the actual notice. When it was noticed, this was not really designated in the legal notice for the square footage of this addition. It just seemed to be left out of the notice, and usually I've seen it there, that it's a special permit for so many square feet to a certain size. I'm just making a note of that, if I may.
Thank
you.
We'll
Okay,
we'll
thanks
look
very
into
much.
that, thank you.
thanks, Pam.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna adjourn that one, and we're gonna open the hearing on the Chris Johnson 14 Man Waring Road special permit. Amber?
On the application of Christian Johnson, 14 Main Waring Road, to construct a 60-foot by 40-foot barn with open porch and carport on developed property, new building to have no potable water or sanitary service.
Anybody here for Chris?
Sherman Engineering.
Surprise!
Here for Chris Johnson. This is about as simplistic as it gets.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, we should do. I do have a planning.
Yeah, well, it was,
Sorry.
yes, the CAC met on February 13th. Very short and sweet. This is a new garage and shed on the property. I would, talk to the owner there, but we talked about it at the meeting. The only concern we had was showing an electrical line going to the new structure. Note the new garage is designed house some of the owners of work vehicles. But it was a kind of a, they didn't have any issues with that other than the electrical line that was going to the new structure. So,
Like he doesn't want any lights there? I don't understand the objection.
Okay,
okay,
all right. Planning board, man?
I mean, the planning board approves the application. Essentially, I mean, they didn't have any significant concerns. Let's see.
Well thought out.
Yeah, there's no potable water or sanitary services proposed. And they said that, there's already a berm to control water runoff from the property, so that wasn't a concern for them. And it's commensurate with B zoning and adjacent businesses, so they didn't have any concerns.
This is a B zone / residential. That's a business guy.
Great, thank you, Matt Sherman. I'm here for Chris Johnson. The one concern that Jim had mentioned that the planning board had about the electrical service on site was that on our site plan, we mentioned that we show the underground electrical service, but we didn't actually show it. We showed the electrical service where the pan is, where it's coming into the property. But they're going to have electrical to the barn. As Meg said, and the planning board noted, they're not going to have water. They're not going to have sanitary. It's basically just there to support his tree business. So it's very similar to a little bit larger, but similar to the same thing that we just had the board approve for Peconic Plant Care over on Jaspa, and kind of part and parcel with these types of operations. It is B zone. He meets all zoning requirements. He meets all parking requirements. We're putting in stormwater control. Doesn't affect anything else. So it's pretty straightforward.
Any questions? Anybody in the audience? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, we're going to close that hearing.
Pam has her hand
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, Pam?
I'm sorry, that was quick. Yeah, I see that the planning board asked for a site plan review. Was that done?
That's what this is.
Visited it and reviewed the site plan while on site.
Let's see where they,
At the bottom of the first page.
they reviewed the
That's like a
site
separate
plan.
application. That's a separate application, right? We're talking about right now just the.
No,
because they're talking about-
No, I don't,
This is the site plan application.
they said they recommend approval of this site plan review application. And they also said that they reviewed the site plan, but I don't see a request for a site plan review because that's what this is.
yes, yeah.
So my question, I guess part of it says that we're talking about an expansion of use here, and I don't see any
No,
information
there's,
about that.
there's no expansion of use. The town board is sitting as a quote unquote planning board and evaluating a site plan application.
It's a B zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
there's
okay.
no special exception is required. I think the terminology on applications has to be fixed, but this is a site plan application.
Okay, because it just wasn't labeled that way in the paperwork that I saw. Okay, thanks.
You up?
Okay, any others? Okay, we're going to close that hearing and open the hearing on the Karen Fuhrer 146G North Ferry Road dock application. Amber?
On the application of Karen Fuhr, 146G North Ferry Road, to complete an existing dock that was repaired and subsequently rebuilt without a permit.
I asked the building department to come. Do we have anything from the WMAC?
So WMAC had actually tabled this for further review. They wanted to visit it on the March agenda, but there were too many issues here. They wanted to revisit.
Okay, Reed, can you come up?
It's complicated.
Give us a history.
Well, they were found replacing the dock without a permit. Sorry, I'm getting over a bad cold, so I'm a little slow here. There were a couple things going on. They were found to be doing stuff in the wetlands. I think there was a walkway. And they had replaced the dock without permits. There were some issues because the original dock permit had said locust posts only, no treated lumber.
In the creek.
Yeah, and they had replaced the dock with treated lumber. There were a bunch of complications because they also wanted, they were also applying for work on the house. And we, our policy is that we don't release a permit as long as there are violations. Some other things came up in the course of that, which were that there was an accessory structure that had been approved in the past, but never sent to Suffolk County Department of Health. I spoke to the county, they're aware of it, and the current plan would legalize that. So at least that was removed from the complications. As it is now, I guess it was their contention that they weren't doing more than 50%, they thought, but then it turned out they were. I'm not sure what the issue is. I don't really care. I think that the issue is whether they, what you're going to grant them for the dock permit. Is it okay now to use treated lumber?
This is another one of those after the fact issues.
Yes, this is trying to get approval for something that's already done.
Yeah.
Question is whether,
Weighing also the removal impact with the leaving of a pollutant
yeah.
in a creek.
I mean, I have no problem granting the work on the house as long as, they're moving forward. We traditionally,
With this.
yeah, I think now it's clear that the work on the house is going to be acceptable. As long as they're moving forward and we haven't lost our leverage, for compliance on the dock, I'm certainly willing to grant them the building permit.
But right now, we're talking about the dock permit.
Right.
All right, okay. Anybody here for the applicant?
I am the applicant.
Okay,
Karen Moyer. Good to be with you this evening. You can't put my video on, right? Do I just stay off?
yeah, you can
camera?
put it on.
Well, actually, when I tried before, I couldn't do it.
The voice is the most important thing.
There you go.
All right. Oh, yeah, you have it now. Okay, good to be with you this evening. So definitely the dock and the permit for the accessory house are two separate issues. But I also want to say that you have paperwork in front of you that comes from the DEC that essentially fined us for not having the permit, but also very clearly states that we can continue the work according to them. It's an order of consent, and I believe you have that. You also have my letter of explanation. A representative from Curate Build is here this evening as well on Zoom, who is working with us. I also have my daughter-in-law who's probably would like to speak as well, but we are trying to do everything we can to resolve the issue. Therein sending you the paperwork and hoping to be able to move forward. Whatever else you need from us, we are willing to do. It's a safety issue, the way it stands unfinished right at this moment. So if you...
Can you expound upon that? In what way is it a safety issue?
Well, the rampway, it's unfinished. The rampway is not in. The floating dock there is a gap, obviously, between the floating dock and the walkway. And
Okay, so if you didn't use it, there would be no safety issue though, right?
we didn't use it, there would be no safety issue, although we do have grandchildren that are out and about. And so it requires extended vigilance to make sure that they are not there and walking up the walkway.
Also, when it is in full repair, it requires extended vigilance depending on their age.
That's true. It's
Right?
true, but at least there's not the gap.
Stephen, as far as the DEC, that's just part of the process, right? It still has to get town board
That
approved.
has no bearing on us.
Yeah.
We have our own separate and distinct code. And, again, they satiated the DEC by paying the fine, but they have to rectify the situation locally and, with the town.
Good afternoon, if I may. My name is Stacy Aaron. I'm Karen's daughter-in-law. Sorry, my camera actually is not working. So unfortunately, I can't be on Zoom for you all to see me, but nice to meet you all. Happy to be here. So I actually had a very extensive conversation with Christina in your office, who mentioned the fact that in order to move forward, of course, crossing all T's and not dotting all I's, we would need a DEC permit, which is why my mother-in-law brought up the DEC order that was given to us, because what it says in the DEC order is that we may continue to build and rebuild. So I think that's kind of a moot point at this point, totally understanding that there is the difference between the DEC and the local Shelter Island Board, which is what we sit in front of. I know that my mother-in-law also submitted what is the dock permit for you guys. I don't know, I think we're here basically to just, take it under the chin. There was a mistake made. Unfortunately, we're given some advice that we shouldn't have listened to. At this point in time, we want to move forward. Safety is the number one precaution, totally understanding as well that, yes, a dock is obviously a safety precaution, but that gap that is there is a very large safety issue, especially for the young kids that are running around. One of them happens to be my child.
Yeah, you should probably snow fence that off.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
That's not a bad idea and something that we definitely will, take into account. Absolutely. But more so to the point is that we just want to know moving forward what we can do to expedite this. My mother-in-law also had a conversation with N Consultants who would have been here, except that the person that we're going to be hiring or have hired is on vacation until actually tomorrow. So he couldn't be here right now. So
Let me just jump in here just real quick too. I mean, we also would like the WMAC to have their opportunity to review this. Their next meeting is on March 6th. So that's sort of just an initial observation here. It's not that far off, no. But that being said, it still is that. And then we're going to adjourn this meeting tonight because we're going to have to meet again. And a new DEC permit might be required if we are asking for the application for the dock to change in any substantial way than what the DEC already thinks exists. I think I'm right about that. So I mean, that's a question. It's an open question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't have the letter of consent they wrote in front of me. It would-
But just so you know, we cannot proceed tonight, as BJ said.
Of course.
We need the recommendation from the WMAC to give this due consideration. And also, I know your mother-in-law or yourself was told that you need to submit a wetlands permit application because, the subject walk to the dock requires a wetlands permit. So, and, that has to be submitted forthwith. And, you really can't decide on the dock until you ensure that you have access to the dock. So this is a concurrent review that we have to, get, the process going on the wetland side. So
Yep.
you can make an intelligent decision.
We're all aligned. I think that was our intention here to say, can we adjourn this to the next meeting so that we can have N Consultants who, is under hire, then apply for this wetlands permit. It can all be under, your wing. You can review it. And then this way we can, discuss at the next meeting.
Stacy and Karen, I think that, I'll speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure it's the concern of the town board is, this isn't the first time we're getting one of these where it's after the fact. And if the work is done and we approve it, what's going to keep everybody from doing it and then coming to us and saying, well, we didn't know we had to do that. So I think we're going to adjourn it because we'll wait for N Consultants, we'll wait for the WMAC, but we have a lot of, soul searching to do on this one. Yeah. And on a few of them. Yeah.
Understandable, and I will let my mother-in-law Karen speak in just one second, but I will say I am an attorney, and like I said, unfortunately here, we my in-laws were given some bad advice.
Right. Mhm.
It's something that happens. We're not pleased about it. We will obviously move forward, and I can tell you that this will not happen in the future, and I'm sure Karen will agree with that. And she will tell
Right.
you,
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is not something that we're particularly proud of, and we want to do everything we can to rectify it. And certainly going forward, this is not where we will never, we'll come before you with everything in all of our
Right.
I's dotted and T's crossed. So we appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else on this one? Okay, we're going to adjourn this and open the hearing on Alley's Fault LLC, 22 Prospect Avenue.
Application of Alley's Fall LLC, Josh Sapien, 22 Prospect Avenue, to construct a 5-foot by 30-foot ramp leading to a 5-foot by 100-foot fixed dock with a 5-foot by 30-foot L at the offshore end. Construct a 4-foot by 30-foot lower installation of 2 7-pile dolphins on the west side and 1 2-pile dolphins on the east side of the dock. Install a 6-foot of splashboard system and provide water and electric to offshore end of dock.
Oh, you do?
Okay,
Yeah.
WMAC?
Yeah, this was back in December, this was considered by the committee. And at that time, it was preliminary, but the applicant had already done some changes based on a prior meeting to,
With the WMAC?
yeah. And so
Mainly to remove that boat lift.
the boat lift.
That was a concern that the WMAC had, the adding of the splash guards, because of the wave action in that area.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The vote was 4-2-0. Concerns about the two against, concerns about the location because it's a high wave action location, concerns about the shoreline because there's only one other dock on that shoreline. And, both of those observations are accurate and factual. However, the 4 who voted for contended that, yes, and there's no other, that those are not reasons grounded in code to deny the applicant his dock.
Okay, I think BJ has expressed it very, very well. I think voting for it, they're sympathetic to the 2 nay votes, for the reasons that were just stated, but that the applicant has every right to be able to put a dock in there. The fact that it says set a precedent and that the beach that now exists doesn't have any docks there, that was a concern. This was a application that we talked about for a great deal of time. And spent a lot of time going back and forth, a lot of soul searching with this one, but the vote was 4-2-0. The one person that was on Zoom and was not able to vote. We had all 7 members present.
Okay, Stella, I know you sent us a letter. Would you like to speak?
Hi, Stella, how are you?
Stella Lagutis, representing the Shelter Island Heights Property Owners Corporation and the Property and Roads Committee. We are nearby neighbors to 22 Prospect by virtue of the fact that we own the roads. And start by saying I know that this has been a very long process for the applicant. There were meetings before the December meeting, and as was mentioned,
Yes, there were.
the applicant worked very hard to work with the WMAC what they were looking for, which is the good news. Despite that, the Property and Roads Committee does not support this dock, and there are really 2 reasons for this. Reason number 1 is that it's a hazardous location, and reason number 2 is, as was mentioned by BJ and Jim, there's precedent that can be set. So the first point having to do with hazard is that, the Property and Roads Committee is by no means expert in, navigation hazards and safety and where should a dock be and not be. So like the town board, they would look to the experts, and the experts in this case being the WMAC. And if you listen to the deliberations, and we listened to them quite a number of times, there were lots of phrases from all 6 of those members who were present that talked about a combination of words, that this is inherently hazardous, this is dangerous, we're not comfortable with the location, it's not an appropriate place for a dock, the location is not recommended. So that was concerning, not very concerning. Even in the letter from Costello Marine, it was talked that, it was discussed that this was, there's considerable wave action there and there's considerable boat traffic. So 4 out of 6 did vote in favor. And the reason they voted in favor was because, yes, there's a matter of right, so that's understood. But also because this was the applicant's property and that applicant should be able to do whatever they want with their property. So I guess the Property and Roads Committee has a couple of questions. Number one, is it solely the applicant's property, or is some of this dock on public property? And number two, the question is, people don't do whatever they want with their property.
I don't believe it was stated that way. I'm just going to interrupt you. It's not whatever they want. I think it was a discussion by right.
No, they talked about, I mean, go back and listen. It's there. And they did talk about doing, it's your property, you should be able to do what you want with that property. And, the question that the Property and Roads Committee has is that this is there was a reason for the town code. And the town code is there to protect the health, safety, and the welfare of the residents and also visitors to the island. So with all this concern about, is this a dangerous area? That's number one. Number two is the precedent, and it was touched upon. The fact that there was discussion that the WMAC has approved docks like this one, this design, and perhaps even larger in other parts of the island. But if you look from what's now the Carlino property, which kind of is at one end of Crescent Beach, all the way to the Beach Club dock that's been there, it's an 84-foot dock, and it's been there for over 100 years. There are no docks there at all. So it's a pristine, it's probably the last pristine set of stretch of beach.
In
Pristine.
Pristine was used.
Yeah, so it's the last stretch. So having this is going to establish a precedent. The Property and Roads Committee does believe, insofar as there are going to be other ones that come. And then what do? You don't, that's our calling card. When you're coming in by boat, you're coming in by ferry. It's a gorgeous stretch of beach. So we realize that we're only one voice in this particular deliberation. And it's really up to the town board to make the decision. We can only tell you what our concerns are. But in our letter, we did ask that in the event that you go forward, that you do make some restrictions or some considerations. Those would be that if this configuration does not work in what was termed a dangerous or hazardous location, that no additional changes be made. So we don't go back to the drawing board and look to configure it a little bit differently. If by chance it is destroyed, and it is a requirement to have a permit that it has to be rebuilt, that permit not be issued for a dock that exceeds what the code allows. Clearly, there was a request for lighting, that the dark skies lighting rules apply here. And as the water provider, and the fact that there will be water given to this dock, and to the extent that you approve it, that it be properly winterized, and that some type of water monitoring and shut-off device, whether it be a FlowLogic or Alert IQ, be installed as well. So we've had problems with people not shutting off. It wasn't on purpose, but there's a break and then we lose a lot of water. So hopefully you'll just take some of these comments into consideration as you think through.
I'm a little bit confused. What's the actual charge of the Property and Roads Committee? What is their role?
They look to all kinds of either building or amendments or throughout the heights.
But again, I'm confused. Who is it? It's a hazardous location, but it's not hazardous to the public.
Well, how can we say that?
Because it's a private dock.
Well, it's a private dock, so if the private dock is destroyed by a storm, there's going to be all kinds of debris that can wash up. I mean, there's a lot of, the tides there are pretty.
You say that about a house if there's a catastrophic hurricane. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing there. I mean, you could have a boat go into it. So, I mean, they're definitely, I'm not the one who said it was dangerous.
No, I know we were there for the discussions. One big thing, along the entire west side of the island, you know, from Shell Beach right on up to the point till you turn north. We've had these same conversations about the wave action, the southwest winds and people putting docks in. Again, some of that beach is considered pristine, but docks have gone in there. There's a dock just down from my house with a dock and a boat lift. And the same discussion happened. You know, we can go back a year in time, and the vote was very similar. The discussion was very similar about the concern for safety and the concern for precedent and the concern about whether we should be allowing that. But until we change our, you know, just, you know, the rights of the property owner there to be able to do that, you know, that's why the four people, although they were sympathetic to the 2 no votes, felt that there is nothing there to warrant us voting against this application. Legally, correct. So that's why they chose to do what they did. Some of these restrictions that you've stated might be something that the applicant is here, might want to address, you know, for future reference, but glad you brought them up and glad you decided to come and voice.
Any questions, Estelle?
Just the comment about it being on public property or partially on public property. I don't, how is this different from other
Docks.
It was just it was in response to the comment that was made at the WMAC meeting where someone can do whatever they want on their property. So if this is going off their property, it's not necessarily a right.
Okay, so it's.
That was in response to that.
Right. I get that.
Yeah. So anyway, we just wanted to kind of let you know what we were thinking, and we appreciate your.
The letter's on the record.
Okay, thank you.
Letter is on.
Some applicant?
Jack is here, Mr. Sapan.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, the applicant. This has been an ongoing application. As you well know, we've worked with the town to try to come to a happy medium here. The Heights dock is not within eyeshot, and there is one other seasonal dock that goes down towards Sunset Beach. That's Scudder Cottages actually has a dock there. It's a seasonal dock. It's only in for the summer. So there are other docks in that area. And this dock is smaller than the recently approved dock that I think Jim was talking about at 60 Peconic Avenue. This dock almost mirrors that, but it's even shorter. So there's kind of a precedent there that all the docks entering West Neck Harbor on the outside are actually all much longer than this.
I have a question for you, Jack. In a well-maintained, and this is going to be new for some period of time, but in a well-maintained, fairly new dock, let's use the examples along the West Shore. We've had some pretty significant storms. Do we get a lot of debris and breaking up of docks? I mean, I think if you leave your boat on it, your boat could break up, but, you know, you would hope that people aren't doing that. So I was just wondering, because that's a point I think that would.
There's been more bulkhead damage by far than
dock damage? Yeah.
bulkhead damage is real.
Yeah, on the other side of Southwold, in between Cedar Beach and Paradise Point, there's like 7 or 8 docks in there that face directly into the northeasters, and I built every single one of them. Never had a problem with them.
Yeah.
And then I constructed the one at 68 Peconic, probably 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years ago. We've had no problems with that. You know, cataclysmic events, what are you gonna do? But
I know.
as far as the docks we've put in, I mean, knock on wood, we don't really have much problems.
Short of 1938, yeah.
What was the rationale behind removing the boat lift?
Yeah.
Curious, because I know in other areas that have aggressive wave action, we've had boat lifts
I would-
put
I
in
would say-
because they're.
Again, just as an observer, that if there's a need for a boat lift, that's the spot. But I think Mr. Sapon acquiesced because there was concern from the WMSA didn't want it.
Yeah, there was that concern, and I may be wrong, but I think too, it wasn't a large boat going in there, and I think if my memory serves me correctly, that if the storm was coming, that you were gonna relocate that boat off that dock and put it in a safe area. So I think those two things is what I heard, that they would relocate the boat. It's not a large, obviously.
But to Meg's question, I'm thinking that was a gift.
You know,
Yes, yeah,
they wanted a reduction.
Yeah.
To make it more palatable.
correct.
And Mr. Shahan is here.
And I think that's really what factored into it, is it making it more palatable, because when you put the boat lift up there, it's high, it's above the dock. And if you're worried about appearance, for appearance sake, yeah, that's just another thorn in your side that,
The elevation.
yeah. Plus the fact that it catches wind and,
Oh,
And Mr. Saban's here if you have any questions specific to him. But I'm sure, backflow prevention for the water is no big deal. Shut off valves and leading up the hill. Yeah,
Right.
That stuff's gonna be done anyway.
right.
yeah.
We don't want to drain Shelter Island with water in the building.
Middle of winter.
Any other questions for Jack?
Not necessarily for Jack, but the Scudder dock, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah,
Does anyone know the dimensions on that?
no, it's a floating, right?
No, it's a seasonal stick dock. It's like 4x4s. It's been in there for 100 years. But it's not in there now.
Yeah,
Because the requirement was for it to be taken out.
yeah.
So that may change.
I actually noticed too, they have 3 mooring permits, I think, maybe more, and I didn't see moorings this summer, I don't think.
No, there's no moorings there.
Yeah,
They haven't been putting them in.
yeah.
But
This is another topic.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack.
Stephen, did you want to say anything?
not unless there's anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions in the audience here? Any questions in the Zoom audience?
Can I just say something very quickly?
Sure.
Sure, come on up, Tim.
I live.
Let's identify yourself.
Tim Bertel, I live in Sutherland Heights. And I actually own co-own property with my niece Sharon Edwards, 2 properties over from Josh Saban. I did sign the property and roads letter, but I've lived in this area for 70 years. And I know that water very well. To me, it's a very inappropriate place for a dock. There's very strong current, very strong wave action. But the other part of it is just the aesthetics of that area. It's gonna have an impact in that area. And Josh and I had a discussion several years ago about how beautiful that beach was. This protruding structure is gonna change that beauty. If you have more ducks go in there, it's gone. And it may be legally binding that you have to agree to this, but I really think the audience should think about protecting some of these areas that are already beautiful that we're losing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Anybody else in the Zoom? Okay, we're going to close that hearing and open the hearing on the James and Cheryl Keller, 56A Cartwright Road wetlands application.
Application of James and Cheryl Keller, 56A Cartwright Road, to add addition and renovate existing dwelling. New work includes removal of existing septic and decking on vegetative buffer, reconstruct existing deck and add 84 square feet of new deck and vegetative buffer. Reconstruct 759 square feet on first floor and ARA, 301 square feet in vegetative buffer. New 166 square feet second floor and ARA. Reconstruct 301 square foot first floor and add 89 square feet in vegetative buffer.
Now, we are going to adjourn this because the CAC hasn't met, but you can make your presentation.
March 13th, yeah. It's on the agenda for.
Go over the planning board.
We have the planning boards.
I do actually have the planning board.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yep.
I think we should just adjourn this to have a meaningful dialogue with the applicant. I think you should be more informed, and you're not informed of the issues until you get, the CAC and planning board record.
We have the planning board.
Well, we have the planning board and we have the applicants here, Stephen, so can we hear what the proposal is?
No, I guess I'm just trying to be more efficient.
Yeah, I understand.
You're gonna have to bring them
Whichever you
back.
like, whatever you like.
What do you guys want to do?
Matt, you okay with coming back?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Mm,
The weather's nicer next time, sure.
We'll wait for the CAC report then.
March. Could help.
We're gonna adjourn that hearing and open this next one's the same thing. The Catherine and Theodore Bucci, 104 South Ferry Road Wetlands application. Anybody here for that? Nope. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
So they both talked about it. CAC and planning board, I think both talked about it.
I have a note that CAC Wednesday needs to report.
I found that.
Yeah, I have a report on the one of them. Very,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, from CAC? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, and there's the planning board, so we're.
So there were 4 recommendations. They met on February 13th. Following 4 recommendations were made. Number 1, identify non-turf buffer and layout of plantings. Matt Sherman said he would take care of this to include proper spacing of them. Is that right, Matt? Right. Number 2, adjacent area needs to be more detailed. Matt said he would comply with these recommendations. Number 3, the buffer screening needs to be identified more clearly. Again, Matt said he would take care of that. 4, indicate final grading on plan due to the amount of regrading effort that's shown in this application. Note, some mention of turning the swimming pool from the shallow end to the deep end in order to protect established trees. We found out that that was a no-go because there was no advantage. Because the trees on that particular, the roots on that particular tree run very shallow, and there was no advantage in changing. Number 3? Number 3 was the buffer screening. It needs to be more clearly identified. So Matt had all 3 of these that night. That was weeks ago, and he said he would address all 3 of those. They weren't major things.
Okay, all right, Matt. Planning board?
And reading the notice.
Yes.
Yeah, the planning board, their conclusion was the town routinely permits pools and associated patios to be constructed in the adjacent regulated area. Pond is not within the New York State DEC's jurisdiction, but is subject to town regulations. The proposed includes details that are typically requested as mitigation in some applications with these and the above considerations. We recommend approval. Just go back to the, but there was a pool fence in there. And something else that was just outside of wetlands.
Automatic pool cover.
IAC6 being installed.
Okay, so to backtrack a little, could you read the,
Oh, did we skipped?
On the application of Catherine and Theodore Bucci, 104 South Ferry Road, construct an in-ground swimming pool and patio partially within the regulated area. All new construction will be greater than 80 feet from flagged wetlands boundaries of man-made pond on site. New pool will include automatic covered cartridge filter and salt cell or ozone disinfection.
okay, Matt?
Okay, good.
Hold on.
National laugh. If Jerry will sing.
All right, Matt, you want to give it a try? Don't touch anything.
Okay, so again, I'm here with the property owners. This is it's a vacant property that previously vacant property. It's got a new house under construction now. The pool is now being under consideration. It's close to a man-made wetlands on site. There is an adjacent wetlands off-site that is a DEC regulated wetlands, but this one here is not. I'm going to share my screen and give you another quick presentation, hopefully. Just to give everybody an idea of what it is we're talking about here. I've got it zoomed in another couple of slides, but just to kind of give you an overall feel of the property as a whole. You've got 114 out here on the right-hand side. That's up to the northeast. Chris Lewis's property, right here.
Right. Yep.
Coming down, coming into the back, the driveway coming in. This is the two-story dwelling that's currently under construction. The pond we're talking about is this egg-shaped thing right here. And then this curve, the outer curve is the 100-foot setback. The inner curve is the 75-foot setback. On the west side, over here, this is the DEC regulated wetland. And the 100-foot setback from that DEC regulated wetland. This is a zoomed in area, make it a little bit easier to see what it is we're talking about. Again, here's the pond. This is a swimming pool and patio. Its closest point is just over 80 feet from the flagged wetlands boundary. It's a 20 by 40 pool, so typical residential pool, nothing too large. It's got 11-foot patio off to the west side and a 17-foot patio to the south side. Just, again, typical residential construction. We had looked at trying to get the swimming pool further away from the pond so we didn't have to do a wetlands permit. The reason why it ended up getting placed where it is this right here is a large tree that they're trying to save. If you go out to the site now, you'll see they've got orange construction fencing wrapped around the base of it, not the base, but underneath the drip line to help protect the area around the tree. So they're working around that. The septic system that was recently installed was also designed and installed in a way to keep it away from that tree and away from that drip line. So the septic is over here on the western side. So really, the only comments that anybody had on this project were the protection of the tree. Obviously, the CAC wanted to talk about some regrading and see what we were planning on doing with regrading. But the biggest thing was in the vegetation, the revegetation plan. And a revegetation plan was submitted with the wetlands application. And I made, my mistake, I could have made it a little bit more obvious. But on your drawing C1, where it says vegetation plan, we've got it called out in color with the different types of vegetation and their spacing and where they would end up being. So a couple of slides here just kind of help elaborate on that a little bit. The non-turf buffer is going to be this area between the pond and the swimming pool. Right now we're calling for about a 40-foot non-turf buffer coming out from the pond. It would be like a sedge grass, so it's not going to be your typical turf grass. To the south, we've got this area that will be a turf grass. And the reason why we're having that is when the subdivision was created here, this pond was designated as being available to the fire department in case there's a fire out here. It's a good idea, it's a bad idea. It's a good idea because you want to have a good supply of water if there's fire out there. It's a bad idea where it's in the summertime, this pond is bone dry. It was dug out by the previous property owner. I think Ken Lewis dug it out in order to support his horses. So, you know, when Mother Nature smiles upon us, it's got water in it. When she doesn't, it doesn't. But to the end, to honor the subdivision approval that had occurred. We're trying to keep that area clear so that the fire department can get into that pond if there is water in it. If there is no water in the pond, then luckily for them, they'll have a swimming pool right nearby that the fire department can go there. So what we've got is the non-turf buffer, as I said, to the west-hand side of the pool, the west-hand side of the pond, to the north and to the southeast, and then also on the western side of the driveway as a buffer for that other wetlands that's off-site. We're proposing to put in a series of pollinators, meadow-type vegetation, barren strawberry, bayberries, butterfly milkweed, Joe Pyle weed, sunflower, things along those lines. So it's nothing that's too ornate, but it's going to have that meadow pollinator type of thing. So it'll attract butterflies, bees, hummingbirds, things along those lines. So again, this is a very simple project as well. It's a small residential swimming pool. We've got the automatic cover, as was noted in some of the comments from the planning board of the CAC, the automatic cover, the salt cell disinfection, cartridge filter, all the things that the town wants to see in swimming pools, not necessarily in any specific area, but, in these more environmentally sensitive areas. And then the last point is on this pond being a man-made pond. There was some discussion of the CAC and some concern about why the town would even be interested in this. The town code doesn't differentiate between the man-made wetlands and a natural wetland. So because of that, that brings us here, which is good, because whether it's man-made or not, there's still wetlands vegetation there or not. And we did come back and confirm, even though the wetlands flagging on this survey was from, I think, 2019. Let's see. We did come back and confirm it. 2021 is when the wetlands flagging was. We did come back in and confirm it during the summer when there was no water in the pond to make sure that there was still wetlands vegetation there, and there is. So that makes this a reasonable request of the town.
What's the tree? What kind of tree?
It's a maple.
No, it's a wild black cherry.
Oh,
I have to have the Ag Cornell verify it, but if it would be on record as the second largest one in the world. It's
oh,
13 and a half feet around the trunk.
Wow.
oh, okay.
We thought it was an elm tree at first.
That's what I was thinking.
But the thing is, all the arborists were there, they thought it was a cherry, but they said it was just too huge. It's we've had it pruned,
Yeah.
really didn't have to do much. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous tree.
Wow.
Nice.
It's nicer looking than any I saw online. The second largest one right now is 11 and a half feet.
Where is that?
Norway, I think.
Oh,
Are you the first largest?
Right outside of Oslo.
Would be the second once it's confirmed.
Okay.
Very cool.
So we've got that going for us.
Cool. All right.
Sharon.
And I guess the reason, too, for the placement is you don't want it too far from the house.
Yeah, and you start getting too far away. If you come down to the southwest, the grade comes up.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't really make any sense. And if you go anywhere, it's really the only place to put it other than
Right.
where this tree is.
The septic's already in, or already, yeah.
The septic's in already, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the house is fairly well under construction. I think it's almost dried in. So now is a good time actually, to start working on this as well, so that when we're coming back to do the regrading plan, once all of that gets done, we'll be able to tie it all together.
Right. All right.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Any questions on Zoom? Okay, I'm going to close that hearing and open the hearing on the Community Preservation Water Quality Improvement Funds. Amber?
To determine whether to utilize the Community Preservation Water Quality Improvement Funds for the costs associated with the engineering and permitting of the proposed fresh pond remediation project.
Okay, I see we have Peter Grand on Zoom and we have James Eklund here. I guess, James, this is your bailiwick.
I think, yeah, but
It is,
James
but,
or Peter?
Peter could speak to it better. I'm actually on the water.
WQI, so he should weigh in.
I was abstaining from any
Gotcha.
discussion, but I can give
Okay, I'll let Peter do it.
background.
Okay, Peter?
Well, again, the WQI has approved funding for the final engineering plans and for the permitting process for the Fresh Pond remediation program, that project that we've been working on. We've completed the remediation, a feasibility study for this project. The WQI has reviewed that study, and so they're recommending funding for it.
Peter, I know initially you recommended partial fund, the majority of it, but you took out 6,000 or 7,000 for remediation of plants. So we putting that back in?
So the $6,900 that the WQI deferred, they wanted to make sure that that was actually oriented toward remediation, and it is, and they found that it was in a subsequent meeting. That is not actually for cleanup of vegetation. That's just for the permitting part of that work. The Fresh Pond neighbors will actually be funding and working with the town to contract with a separate contractor to do cleanup of the immediate area of the public access and area and other impact areas that have been impacted by harmful algal blooms just near shoreline. And that is just for each year to kind of keep people safe.
Okay. Joe, I see the town engineers here. Just a quick update on what the project is, Joe?
Sure, but I just want to add the point to your question earlier about the 6,000 set aside. That was approved at a subsequent WQI meeting, and so there will be a subsequent public hearing specifically for that amount. So that's not up for consideration today, but will be posted and advertised for a later date.
Okay. Any questions for anybody?
Does Joe want to give?
Joe, did you want to give any off?
Just a quick once over for what the project objectives are. We studied the existing conditions around the pond, including a variety of water quality and sediment samples. We identified that there's a surplus of phosphorus that's accumulated over a period of centuries from typical use of such a water asset. And the objectives of the project are to remove that excess of phosphorus from the sediments so that harmful algal blooms do not predicate on a seasonal basis. And the project seeks to remove this excess phosphorus over a period of about 10 years, at which time the pond would be restored to its natural balance of nutrients, resembling something of centuries ago. So this would be what should be perceived as a permanent solution for water quality issues that plague Fresh Pond at present.
And it's just a filter situation where we're taking that phosphorus from the bottom of the pond.
Yes, and cycling it around.
Putting it through and then putting it back into the, it's not going in, the water's coming back in. Hopefully those impurities are taken out.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. That's very important. It's just a recycling effort, as many of our efforts with water have to be. It's a recycling effort. But interestingly, in the process of taking out the phosphorus, we'll also see nitrogen removal equivalent to the more than had we put every single home on Fresh Pond onto an innovative alternative advanced septic system. And the water in Fresh Pond flows out directly into Monantic Creek and Dickerson, and then obviously out into the West Neck Bay, into the bays. So we're doing that as well as impacting the aquifer directly under all of the homes on South Monantic Road and in that area. So because it is a recharge zone. So for all of those reasons, there are a multitude of solutions coming out of a single process.
And two other things. I think the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association has been vital part of this. This has been going on. I'd say the initiative started 4 or 5 years ago, really, where we started, getting people together, fundraising and things of that nature. So a lot of the preliminary work has been done by the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association. But I would like to remind everybody that Fresh Pond is a town asset. It has the potential for some great recreational as well as aquatic kind of things that we can do down there. So it's a great effort.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I would also want to point out that the DEC has supported us in this effort, and the New York State Federation of Lake Associations as well, which we are a participant member of. So for the past 5 years, we've been able to do bi-weekly sampling of the pond throughout the entire warm season, spring through fall, and then have New York State DEC laboratory analysis of that. So we have longitudinal data. Unfortunately, I just yesterday received the 2022 data, and it did in fact show toxicity in the near shoreline areas associated with the harmful algal blooms that we sampled, high toxicity for a period of time in July and August. So we're very concerned to get everything kind of moving along at a certain pace. Obviously, I don't want to focus on the negative side. The beauty that will be restored is clearly what we should be looking at.
And just so everybody knows, the ask is $147,600 of WQI funds. Anybody else? Any questions, comments, concerns? Anybody on Zoom?
Peter, do you want me to talk or?
Yes, I think it's perfectly valid to make a comment.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to remind everybody, I don't live.
Tell us who you.
Says it on it.
No, he has to state your name.
Tom, could you identify yourself?
I'm sorry. Yeah, my name is Tom Junot. I live on 18 Worthy Way, off of Brander, which is far from Fresh Pond. And so I'm not a member of the, I'm not a one of the houses encircling Fresh Pond, but I use it all the time. And I wrote something this morning, if you guys feel like hearing it, of just about why I love Fresh Pond and why I think it's such a resource and such a good thing to defend.
It's a public hearing. If you want to read it, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I don't live on Fresh Pond, but I love Fresh Pond. I've been swimming there since we bought the house off of Brander in 2000. I was always a saltwater guy, but I looked at Fresh Pond as my discovery. There is nothing you can do on Shelter Island that matches the experience of immersing yourself in Fresh Pond. I've been spending 20 years trying to describe it. The water is soft, it's yielding, and that's about all I can say. So I've been swimming in Fresh Pond for 22 years, and I kept on swimming there. I've kept swimming when there were rumors that a big snapping turtle lived there. I kept swimming when I actually saw the snapping turtle and it was as big as a lawn chair. I kept swimming when I contracted Giardia, better known as beaver fever, probably from some critter upstream. And I kept swimming there even when Vin Novak didn't want me to. Why? Well, because of the water that I can't quite describe, but also because of the tiny of the intimacy of the place, of the tiny democracy of the other people who felt that they discovered it too. I've swum in Fresh Pond with old people, and I've swum there with babies. I've swum in there with hairleggers and French staffers from Sunset Beach. You can't swim in Fresh Pond without talking to the people who are swimming alongside of you. And I've actually met two of my best friends on its shores. And because when you swim in Fresh Pond, you feel connected to Shelter Island's health and ecology like nowhere else, except when you have your ankles deep in the mud and you're going clamming. It feels in short like a miracle, something that shouldn't be, but it is. A few years ago, however, I noticed something happening to Fresh Pond. It was turning green, first for a couple of days each summer, then for a couple of weeks, then for a couple of months. Suddenly, this little miracle, like so much else in our world, like so much else that we love, was under stress, under strained, endangered, doomed. Then I met Peter Grand. I met him in one of those 3 ways I meet people on Shelter Island: at a yard sale, at the dump, treading water in the middle of Fresh Pond. I don't remember it exactly, but I do remember that he presented the idea that Fresh Pond was the veritable canary in the Shelter Island coal mine. That as Fresh Pond goes, so does the island. And I also remember not that he was not just an optimist, but the rare optimist who knew every last detail of his optimistic plans. Well, I joined the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association, though I live off of Brander. And this summer I experienced, even though I just heard it was toxic. What I thought was the clearest fresh pond swims I have had in a decade. Maybe it's just luck, but it reminded me how precious, not just how precious this resource is, and not just how vulnerable, but also how responsive it is to intervention, care, and TLC. And it reminded me that we don't have to lose fresh pond. We don't have to stand by and watch it turn goopy and green. We can make a stand right here, right now, against the ravages of, well, climate change, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have the opportunity to do something about it. We have the opportunity to actually save something we might otherwise lose. It's a rare opportunity in this world of ours, and I say it's an opportunity that we have to seize. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Very well said. Anybody else? Okay, there's no other comments. We're going to close that hearing and reconvene the hearing on the Iser River Trust, 149 North Ram Island Road special permit. Read that because we're reconvening it.
Hi, good evening, board members. Karen Hoag of Toomey Latham on behalf of the application. And here with me this evening are the new owners of 149 North Ram Island Road, Allison and David Uhlendorf. The Uhlendorfs, through their trust, purchased this property in August of 2022 from Joseph and Sue Siegelbaum, who owned the property since 2000. Also here with us tonight is Richard Reinhardt, the contractor who is working with the Uhlendorfs at the property and was initially hired by the Siegelbaums to bring the property up to code after the initial inspection for a CO by the building inspector. I wanted to provide the board with some context and some background. The property is 88,042 square feet, just over 2 acres, located in Zone AA near Shore Peninsula Overlay District. Since the property is located in the Near Shore Peninsula Overlay District, we recently had the water tested by Suffolk County Health Department, and the good news is there was no saltwater intrusion. The existing building coverage is 5,283 square feet, and allowable coverage is 22,011 square feet. Existing total lot coverage is 9,499 square feet, and allowed total lot coverage is 35,217 square feet. So as you can see, on a lot this size, the house and accessory structures are well below what is permitted by the town code. In regard to the special permit application, which is why we're here tonight, in May of 2022, the Siegelbaums filed a building permit application requesting a permit to finish the existing basement and convert it to conditioned habitable living area with a gym, bedroom, bathroom, storage, billiard room, and bar. The notice of disapproval that was issued in July 1st of 2022 noted that the conversion was completed prior to the issuance of any application for a building permit or any health department approval. So while we had talked earlier about things that happened after the fact, this was a situation where the current owners had purchased the property after the prior owners had done all of this work. The disapproval letter also stated that the proposed finished basement would create a total square foot of living area for primary and accessory habitable structures on the property of 9,260 square feet. The architects, Brandis Maselli, provided the square footage calculations as per their drawings of July 7th, 2022, which was submitted as part of the special permit application. And the application was modified in November of 2022 to identify who the new owners were, and the deed and everything was provided to the town clerk. As per the Brandis Maselli July 7th, 2022 calculations, the main house totaled 5,012 square feet. The garage with loft totaled 1,188 square feet, and the basement renovation totaled 1,837 square feet for a total of 8,037 square feet. Since it was unclear to us where the square footage came in the notice of disapproval of 9,260 square feet, we asked the architects who did the initial analysis and calculations to revisit the property, take a look at the basement, the main first floor and the second floor, and provide new calculations for us. because it appeared to us that there was some space that may have been in the basement or parts of the house that was not initially included. So I have to present to the board tonight their revised calculations. I may pass them around. And as I said, apologies for getting this to you so late. We just got them
Thank you.
today. You're welcome. So as you can see from this revised calculation, there was a revision on the first floor regarding a screened porch, which was noted now as a three-season porch of 366 square feet. The second page shows the shading of what conditioned space is, and the blue area is what is unconditioned space. So if we're taking into account the three-season screen porch and adding that, the SFLA actually increases to 6,566. And that does not include the basement floor plan. So if you look at the basement floor plan where they know what unconditioned space is, they identify the crawl space, 2 storage rooms, and 2 mechanical rooms. So the increase in the SFLA total is 8,403, and these unconditioned spaces have been broken out per room.
I'm sorry, are you saying that, so, there's talk about that basement again.
Sure. So in the basement, what is in red is considered by the architects as conditioned habitable space. It's heated and air conditioned. The blue areas are what has been deemed unconditioned space.
Right.
And we did this exercise to try to figure out exactly where our number was off from the building inspector's calculations in his denial letter.
Okay, so you didn't say that the pink area was storage?
No, the pink area.
Opposite, all right.
Yes,
I
that's the
misunderstood.
opposite.
Thank you.
Hi. So we've received the planning board memorandum to the board, which was dated January 30th, 2023. And in the planning board memo, it noted the discrepancy between the notice of disapproval and the architectural plans. We also wanted to make mention that the planning board's memo noted some important observations. They said that there was no change to either the house or garage footprint, volume, or height to achieve the additional cellar living area. The work did not create any additional impermeable area or runoff. The proposed renovations in the basement did not appear ostentatious on ground level to nearby passerbys. The effluent produced by increased habitable space and potentially more people is offset by the recently installed low nitrogen system. So talking about the low nitrogen system, there was also a question raised in terms of the number of bedrooms and whether the new IA system was just for the house or also included the garage and loft area. It was a little confusing the way that the health department stamped their final approved survey. So the low nitrogen system for an 8-bedroom house was just for the main house. The garage loft area has its separate sanitary system. We provided the sanitary design, which was prepared by Jeff Butler Engineering, as well as the prior health department permit for the garage loft. So as you can see on the Butler plans that we submitted to the building department, both sanitary systems are noted on that plan.
An 8-bedroom house, and the system is a?
9-bedroom system.
A 9-bedroom system?
No, the system is for an 8-bedroom house. That's the IA system, and there's a separate sanitary for the loft above the
Regular?
garage. So that's not included in the 8-bedroom.
Yeah, that's a regular.
Regular system?
Right.
And can you tell me where those bedrooms are in this house? Because this plan is tiny and I don't have new paperwork. Sorry.
Sure. So on the first floor, there is one bedroom.
You want it?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, there's one bedroom.
The second floor has 4 bedrooms. And then there's also a bedroom in the basement. So,
It's basement.
right, so here's the one bedroom and bathroom. This is the mechanical, the two storage, the crawl space, and the other mechanicals that are shown in blue on what I just submitted to you.
Aren't these storage spaces conditioned by being adjacent to like the game room? Like, aren't they?
And here even.
Yeah.
Right, well, that is a question that the architects had taken the position that, no, that was not conditioned in heated space. This is actually a cedar closet, and I have some photos. If we're going, I mean, if the board will allow us, we would love to count that as conditioned space. You know, there is sheetrock there. There's, as I said, no changes. There's no way you're going to make it into any kind of bedroom area for sleeping purposes. Like I can share a photo of what that looks like. So this is the smaller storage area, which is actually, you can see a cedar closet. It's helpful to have visuals.
Yes, thank you.
And then this is the larger storage area.
Thank you.
So these are the two storage rooms that are noted on the plans, as well as on the recently submitted calculations from the architect, which is noted as unconditioned space.
Handrail on the left.
It's like a ballet bar.
It's a ballet bar.
So is that really going to be used for storage if they're putting a ballet bar in?
I believe that was there from the prior owners, is that correct?
No, that was moved from another room there for the time being. We didn't want to destroy it because they're expensive. We kind of hung it on the wall in there.
Put in my 2 cents of it.
Why don't we wait till,
And read all-
just sit with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You want me to show you the photo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it some time ago.
Sure, so that's the one, the
So
largest
it's been worked
storage.
on again.
This is that storage room, and then I'll picture to this.
I mean, this is one of the issues we had was that we had to stop work over there because it was all being worked on, because Brett went over it.
How long ago was that?
Last few couple months. The position we have is that square foot living area is any area that's finished and conditioned. And the discrepancy in the square foot living area numbers was that we had this all as finished conditioned space. We had told the Siegelbaums that there's no problem with it being conditioned, being square foot living area, so long as these rooms were opened up so that they were not discrete rooms and couldn't be used as bedrooms, because they don't have emergency escape and rescue.
Yeah.
But they would have to be, communicating to the other rooms and not in any way habitable as anything other than storage areas. And that was the way it was presented. I called Nadia Tintera, and they had approved, she's the Suffolk County Department of Health person who handles this. And they had approved the same plans that they submitted to the planning board. The question is just whether, if these become in any way a discrete room, then Suffolk County would count them as bedrooms. or would count it at that area as an additional bedroom. But I think that from what I understand, this should be counted as square foot living area.
Right, and we're, the owners are here today, and they could talk about the opening up of that room. Allison, you want to come up?
Okay.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Allison Evendorf. We are the new owners, the happy new owners of this beautiful home. And we took it over, we inherited the basement, and with the hopes that whatever issues there were, we could work with everyone to just resolve and bring everything up to code. So we had no, agenda when we bought the house other than to live in it and to make it conform, because we were understood that it was done previously without a permit.
Okay, so that, I was unclear. Now, you were notified, it was part of your transaction, that this would have to be resolved in some way.
Well, okay, yes.
You weren't fooled.
What we did not realize in going into this, and I guess it's just our own naivety, and our desire to own this home and live on this island, which we do intend to make our primary residence as soon as our last child graduates from high school in June. We have ties to the area along, not to Shelter Island, but the general area. And so it's kind of like a coming home for my husband. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but it's a big move for us. So anyhow, so what I didn't know when I bought this, what I did not understand was that until this issue of the basement was resolved, that we couldn't fundamentally do some of the work to the first and second floors that we wanted to do. And what I mean by that work is, I don't mean anything like we didn't change the kitchen, no bathrooms, nothing like that. I mean, upgrading some electrical. We are being allowed to finish with our painting and things like that. But in addition, there are additional permits. Like, for example, we have 2 electric cars. We're coming from Los Angeles. We can't even at the moment apply for or get a permit, from my understanding, for our electric vehicles. So at the moment, either we get rid of those or something, in other words, but more than that, we can't finish the first and second floor to move in. And so my understanding when we purchased this is that there was a problem with the basement that had to be resolved, but that we could live in our home. And, right now we're allowed to work on parts of it, but other parts of it we can't. And so that's a little bit open-ended for us. But in any event, we're here to solve the issue, not cause more problems, and we just want to do that. And to your point of opening up those, quote, problem areas of the basement, happy to do so, happy to do whatever it takes.
So, yeah, I'm wondering, I know I interrupted you and I apologize. Where were you, the discrepancy in the square footage, you just wanted that resolved as a point of fact. Is that why we did that?
Right, well, because the notice of disapproval has one number because the building inspector had included these storage spaces.
Yeah,
The architects did not have that as, they didn't define it as conditioned habitable space. But, we're more than happy to open this up and have it as conditioned space. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Honestly,
fine.
we just want to resolve it, and I didn't want it to be this issue of where are those numbers coming from? Why are they saying one thing and somebody in the building department saying another? We just kind of wanted to tie up the loose ends.
Right.
I think it was just, it's a funny distinction that the town code makes, the definition of habitable space. And it's not whether it's used as storage or, bedroom, it's, the definition is specifically conditioned and finished space. And the original application was based on this all being opened up, so they wouldn't count as bedrooms, but would still be
Right.
finished and conditioned. I think it's just I think this is simply, the discrepancy in the numbers is just a discrepancy in the numbers.
To cut to the chase here.
Yeah.
My understanding is when you bought the house, you knew it had to be brought up to code, which you did in the basement. But that's really not.
We actually don't know everything that we're supposed to do to bring it up to code.
The discussion, I guess, with the Siegelbaums before the sale was through was, they were willing to bring it up to code. But the issue is much bigger than bringing it up to code. It requires a special permit. And this goes to the conversations we've had a couple of times tonight, that the work was done before the special permit was issued. So what's gonna keep anybody from doing the work and then applying for the special permit?
Yes, I understand that. We did not do any of that work. I'm just trying to
Right.
make it all work out. Like, I feel like honestly, we did, you know, like I said, we have no agenda except to now try and
And we very much want to work with you. We just have to figure out how to do that. Because again, this is a huge precedent setting if we just approve a special permit after the fact.
I think this is a common problem when places are sold with violations in place. And I think very often the buyer, perhaps because their counsel doesn't explain it to them, realize what
the realtor
what they're doing.
Well, precisely, and I'm not here to put the blame on anybody. I'm here to accept what we're working on, but that is exactly the position that we're finding ourselves in.
Right.
And it's not an enviable position right now, and it's, you know.
So my question to you, are you guys gonna be around for the next day or two, or?
We're supposed to fly back tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So I was just thinking while you were here, if you could schedule something, because a lot of this needs coordination.
When are you coming back?
We could stay.
Oh, yeah, but we don't have anything scheduled till next Tuesday.
Yeah,
No, I don't mean for
I mean-
us. I mean specifically a map of how, what to do,
Right.
where we're going with this, you know?
Well, again, the issue isn't where we're going with the code. It's what are we gonna do with the whole concept of a special permit
Well,
after the fact.
I do know some municipalities, you know, and I don't know if the town is up for this, they'll require an updated CO upon transfer of property. So anybody who does work, you know, when the Villages of East Hampton does it, they make you get a updated CO and an inspection and.
Require a special permit in this case.
Right,
So you see the problem.
right,
That's a bit of the problem.
right,
And this idea that,
right. I mean, it's a bigger issue.
yeah,
Right,
Anything punitive would be back on the seller and not on the
right.
buyers.
Right.
right.
Well, I'd like to see the contract.
I mean, I guess my real question is, you purchased a property knowing it had a deficiency. Why wasn't your first stop the building department to see what needed to be done to remedy it before you started moving and touching things and working on the property in that sense?
Okay, well, first of all,
I guess-
we didn't actually, my understanding of what transpired was that the previous owners, they wanted to tie up the loose ends and to sell it to us as quickly as possible. We actually, for the longest time, weren't willing to do that. We were a little reluctant. Okay, so we kind of held off throughout the summer. We missed last summer. They had wanted us to close without it. And so I don't know what the procedures are normally or what happens, but my understanding is that they had an inspection or were issued things that were wrong with the basement, and that whether they were allowed to or not, I have no idea, because this was prior to us owning it, started to do some work down there to open up things and bring it up to code, so that when they got the special permit, which was not supposed to be, you know, a huge deal, at least that's what we were led to believe at the time, that then they could basically call for the inspection for the updated CO. So they misrepresented that. So this is what
I'm trying to sort out where the
this is what
glitch
they
occurred and I
told
figured
us,
it out.
okay? So this is what we were told. We were told, and so they proceeded to open up some spaces and to do some work down there. And we weren't even really told what was going on. And to be honest with you, like some of it, and I'm all for it, but like, for example, the updated IA system, you know how there's a bedroom down there on the plans? Well, that bedroom now, and it, you know, it's fine, I understand, and I'm all for the updated IA system, but has in the middle of it, what do you call it, the pump, the
ejector for the
Right,
sanitary.
so it's not, I mean, it's a bedroom, but it's not the bedroom that I thought I was getting. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that's happening here that's really hard for us to you know, deal with, but.
I think what we have to do, excuse me, you were sold the bill of goods.
What?
You were sold a bill of goods.
Who was your attorney at the
I was
close?
just gonna ask that question.
No.
Oh.
What we have to do is figure out how to make this work.
Right, so really, we really want to make it work, and I understand your position, and to answer your question, I don't know, had we been told or known that this, we're not used
Right.
to this, like
Yeah.
and have we been told, like, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I would say also that if there is a penalty, it's our fault. I mean, whether we were sold a bill of goods or not, it's our fault. So in answer to your question of what's going to stop people, I'm not inviting you to make an example of us, but let's just, but I'm kind of saying that.
Well, that's what we're trying to figure, what's a fair way to do it.
Yeah, what I guess if I hadn't asked was, if there's a penalty that goes with that, we'll
Right.
Whatever you want to do to make an example of us, other than stopping us from living in the house. And even, to proceed, at least let us finish the 2 floors so that we can actually live there and then solve this basement thing with time. And yeah, we admit that we were idiots. So, but we fell in love with the house and the island, and we weren't thinking clearly.
And we knew that we were willing to do whatever it took to bring it up to code. So we weren't trying to fight the system.
Yes.
We were trying to work with the system.
Right.
And so.
No, that was made clear.
Yeah.
There was more to it that you didn't even know about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Right. Now,
Bombs never actually did the special permit. That's
And they never.
Did a permit, they never did anything.
They also never got any permits to do the work.
Right, so
Okay,
I'm just saying.
It's not you, that.
right.
But we inherited the sins of the father.
Yeah.
Right. So we have since then, as we've been trying to educate ourselves on what needs to have a permit, is we've been submitting the building permits, an electrical permit, for anything that's going on in the house.
Right, and trust me, I'm all of my husband and I, I've read the code now, I'm up to date, honestly,
Do you want to
I can recite it's just,
That's what she does at night instead of.
Read the code.
What are you reading? I'm reading the building code.
it kind of is, honestly, because that's how much, this is affecting me personally at the moment, but that's, not your problem.
Well, I think we need to come up with a game plan.
So we need to adjourn this, not close
We
it.
need to adjourn it. Stephen,
We need to come up with.
do we put it on for next Tuesday's work session? And invite them to come by Zoom to discuss it, or what's the next step?
No, unless you have a special meeting and open up the public hearing again.
No, we're not going to close it.
Well, we're not going to close it. We're going to
No,
adjourn.
that's what I'm saying. Jerry wants to shoehorn this into a work session. I'm saying we would have to make that work session a special meeting so we can reopen the public hearing. There's a public hearing pending. So we can't have quote unquote testimony from the applicants at a work session. So.
Okay.
We should just discuss it
We have a
ourselves.
special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can discuss it among ourselves as a work session, and then have another meeting.
And some legal counsel.
At the next town board meeting, we can reopen the public hearing. In the interim, Reed can communicate with them and give them some guidance.
I mean, if we're moving forward, I have no problem issuing a permit for work upstairs. The only thing I would say is somebody actually has to apply for a permit to do the work, and nobody ever did. So that would.
We're totally on board with
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have any problem with.
Apply for a permit?
So currently, with the electrical that I think Carmine.
Have them come up to the mic.
Yeah, there was the work.
So I'm Rich Ryan, I'm the builder. So a couple of things, don't happen on other East End towns, and I'm sorry, I didn't know we replaced the shingles on the roof, and we didn't know that was a permit, so.
Really? It's not a permit in other towns? I'm really
No,
surprised.
it's a repair.
Right,
No,
but
it's
this,
a permit of the South work, absolutely.
yeah, it's a dollar
It's not
amount.
Southampton, we roofs all the time, but anyway, so, and when we found out I had applied for a finished permit, knowing that we needed a first permit, when I applied for that, had I known we needed these other permits, I would have gotten them. But anyway, there's electrical work being done. Since then, Carmine has come in and filed for an electrical permit.
There's also some work in the accessory structure, some framing that was being done.
No, so that was the Siegel.
Oh, that's the Siegel, that was part of their.
And that was
Right.
part of that was part of that list that had, so that was done for the Siegel Bounds, because they gave us a list and said, finish this stuff so we could sell a house.
Right, well,
So it's a
but
list.
there was never any permits.
And that was,
so-
that was the 5-foot opening, so in the letter, it doesn't say apply for a permit, it says when you resolve these things, contact us.
Right,
I think we have the letter, but regardless, that work was done, being done for the Siegel maps, it was before. So that's why there's openings and whatnot. So anyway, that's all in the basement. In the garage, that can be taken down because you and I went over it with Brett. The heating source is 18 inches off the floor, so there was a thing about separating it, right?
yeah, I don't recall that. I mean, the
We're
issue.
gonna separate the ductwork.
I think this needs to be
The
talked
bottom
about
line is
offline.
just, you gotta apply for what you wanna do.
Okay, so we're okay with that, and right now it's the electrical. And with that, there's some sheetrock work, but it's minimal sheetrock work, and then it's painting, wallpaper, floors.
Right, and I believe what we had said was that the painting and the
Was fine with
floors
that.
don't
Right.
require permits, but obviously taking out sections of the ceiling and doing electrical work is part of.
Probably you two should sit down.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
thinking.
think it's, right now, it's.
Yeah.
In any event.
And then there are some other things that we want to do, there's some.
I would put the two of you together.
Yeah, so
There's some
we-
upgrading on.
We could
the
discuss what
HVAC.
additional building permits you need, so that we can get those issued while we're working on the basement.
So where does that leave us, though, in terms of what you would desire from us?
Confidence level and your builder's desire to get the.
I'm gonna put the two gentlemen together.
Have a discussion.
And
Hope that
get a
we
game
can-
plan together, maybe we'll have this discussion at Tuesday's meeting. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't need us to stay.
No.
No, but we'll be in touch. I mean, we'll definitely be
Yeah,
in
we'll
touch.
be in
Because we're
touch,
gonna, we'll talk at the work session and then we'll.
But we can continue once we submit the proper building permits that Reed wants.
Yeah, I think that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so.
What was the application was submitted? What you said?
The electrical work.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. It's just between you guys.
Yeah, and you have CEC's memo, they submitted that, and you have the planning board memo?
Yes.
Okay, great, and everything that CAC had asked for, I submitted with the town clerk.
So I guess the way to do it, probably Stephen should be in touch with you.
Okay,
Okay, that's how,
sure.
Pam has her hand up.
Okay,
Yes.
Pam, you have a question?
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah,
Good.
just a quick question with all the numbers that have changed and everything. Will you renotice a public hearing instead of adjourning this one and reconvening it? Since it seems like things weren't quite accurate in the first public notice? I know it seems minuscule, but
Stephen?
it makes a difference.
What's the, what are the numbers? What's the difference between what you're asking for now?
849260, 8492.
Denial letters.
Get that right?
Well, no, it would be based upon Reed's
His number's 9260.
approval, right?
Well, the original number was 9,607, right? And then the new is 8,037?
No,
There's
it was,
still a contention whether that's. you know,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I think there was a misunderstanding on the part of the architect.
I don't know if the notice actually specified the overage. I think it doesn't, it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
Anything the denial letter.
it's just.
Off the top of my head, I'd say we wouldn't be noticing.
Yeah, we're not, we're just
Stephen's gotta
gonna
tell us what to
adjourn
do.
this.
I'm sorry?
We're just gonna
May I just
adjourn.
say, I guess my question really is that because it wasn't in the initial public notice either, that I almost think that it needs to be in a new public notice. I don't know if I don't know if that messes up the calendar to get it in for the next public hearing date for these folks. And I can understand how anxious they are. It's just a procedural thing I'm curious about.
We'll talk with Stephen about that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
My recommendation that we just adjourn this.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, and then we'll be in touch about a new date
right.
forward, okay.
So we're gonna adjourn it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, everybody.
Okay, we're gonna, reopen the public meeting.
Hold it. I have a question.
Who's that?
I didn't hear the CAC report being recorded, but I know Karen has got it because she asked me about it, and she knew about this hearing a week before I did. So I would appreciate if when these things happen, that at least the committees are known at the same time the participant being asked is going to be at the meeting. Karen.
You want me to read this real fast?
Well,
What's that?
Just adjourned the meeting.
All right, we'll talk about that Tuesday.
Yeah,
too.
when we
All right, Howard,
Okay.
point well taken.
Point well taken.
That's internal.
Okay, thank you.
That's internal, not to worry. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to reopen the meeting to the public. Start with the resolutions.
Is that where we're starting?
What page?
9? Is that right? Yeah, just 3 of them, right?
Oh, there's a few more. No, you have an old copy.
I have an old copy.
I'll start with Peter and then we'll go to Meg.
Okay.
Whereas Peter Levinson, 23 Winthrop Road, petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to replace existing dock boards on a section of a dock. And whereas a public hearing was duly held 28th day of February 2023 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be resolved, the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned repairs. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
We'll do the dock one, right? So whereas William Cummings and Bernd Heiberg Svenby, 10 Thompson Road, have petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to construct a new set of lower stairs with 3 platforms, construct a 4-foot by 30-foot catwalk, supply, and install a 3-foot by 15-foot aluminum ramp leading onto a 6-foot by 12-foot floating dock with a 6-foot by 20-foot L secured with 3 anchor piles. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 28th day of February 2023 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Part 617, Section 617.10 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act and Chapter 60 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, notice is hereby given that the town board, as lead agency, has determined that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment, and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Environmental review status pursuant to Chapter 60 of the Town Code of the Town of Shelter Island, Type 2, reasons for supporting this determination. The proposed bulkhead replacement will not cause obstruction into navigable, this is supposed to say dock, right?
Yeah. Dock construction? Yeah. I don't think he's replacing.
Dock construction will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or an interference with navigation, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters, will not adversely affect shell fishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area, will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal waters, shorelines, or beaches, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to Section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit, that said contractor has an owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. And be it further resolved that said operations shall be completed within 1 year from the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Whereas Emmett McCann of 12 Westmoreland Drive has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring in West Neck Bay at a location designated as latitude 41.01, 1525 degrees north, and longitude 72.3583 degrees west. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 28th day of February 2023, all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized issue a permit for the aforementioned installation with corrected coordinates of latitude 41.06, 1399 degrees north, and longitude 72.35, 84, 44 degrees west. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Ali's Fault LLC, Josh Sapin, 22 Prospect Avenue, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to construct a 5-foot by 30-foot ramp leading to a 5-foot by 100-foot fixed dock with a 5 by 30-foot L at the offshore end, construct a 4-foot by 30-foot lowered platform, installation of 2 7-pile dolphins on west side and 1 2-pile dolphins on the east side of the dock, install 65 feet of splashboard system, and provide water and electric to offshore end of dock. Whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 28th day of February 2023 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 617.10 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, chapter 60 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, notice is hereby given that the town board as lead agency has determined that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment, and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Environmental review status pursuant to chapter 60 of the town code of the town is a type 2 action. Reasons for supporting this determination: the proposed bulkhead replacement, 1, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels.
Dock construction.
And dock construction.
What did I say?
You said what's here, but
Said what's
change it to
here.
dock construction.
Okay, the proposed dock replacement will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or an interference with navigation. Number 2, it will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. Number 3, will not adversely affect shellfishing grounds or aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. Number 4, will not adversely affect the quality of tidal waters, shorelines, or beaches. Number 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicants pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit, that said contractor has an owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. And be it further resolved that said operations shall be completed with 1 year from the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, or any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Discussion, just to.
Yep.
All right. Of the 4 things that Stella has mentioned, can we say, because he agreed to it,
Jack is saying he's doing it.
he's going to do it, but can we just comply with dark skies?
Yep.
And the water, the winterization with the water that there's, I don't think we can.
Well, dark guys, they have to do that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's already.
And Jack has said that's, sort of standard for his customers, so I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, all right.
All those in favor?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, aye.
Okay, so we have, it's 4-1.
Okay.
Okay, so moved.
I'm going to read this next one. Amber, I added a little at the bottom, okay? Just so you want to know. Whereas on January 18, 2023, the town engineer appeared in front of Water Quality Improvement Projects Advisory Board to make an application for funding in the amount of $147,600 for the costs associated with the engineering and permitting of the proposed fresh pond remediation project. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 28th of February, 2023 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the aforementioned request is hereby approved and that the supervisor or designee is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents in connection with retaining Lombardo Associates for this project. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I have one more for the, dredging.
All right,
The dredging, thank you for bringing that up.
Whereas the Shelter Island Yacht Club, 12 Cheekwood Avenue, has requested permission to perform maintenance dredging as per DEC permit number 1-4732-00019/00042, designated area of the marina to a maximum depth of -6 feet ALW, and truck approximately 125 cubic yards of dredged sand to an approved upland site. And whereas the Waterways Committee of the Town Board has inspected said site and approved of the same, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for said maintenance dredging. So moved.
Second.
Second, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we will open the meeting for the public. Anybody in the audience have anything?
1 second.
Mercy.
Yes.
Anybody on the Zoom audience? Julie, any questions for us?
Tom Field.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom Field? You're on Zoom, you're on mute, Tom. Tom, you're still on mute.
There we are. Is that it?
There you go. Yep, I hear you.
Okay. BJ, I just got that email that you returned from me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to touch on these 3 points real quick. BJ got back to me about the town access points is not what you considered in what you discussed with the
Roadway right away.
Yeah, with the right of ways. That's something different. I
Yes.
was wondering, is anything being done to designate those? Has anything been looked at by you guys?
No, I mean, Tom, it's on, it's on our to-do list. Stephen actually just brought it up about 3 weeks ago, and we need to follow up with the work that we discussed at our last get-together, which was late last year. So no excuses, just it's on the very long list.
Okay. The other two things were one and combined. The Congdon Creek dock, I know that you're waiting on permits and stuff for that, and there's been some snafu there.
Yeah.
Just a quick update. It's really getting bad. I guess somebody's taken a disintegrating cinder block and used it in a rut just to keep to stay above water. So that is getting worse. I don't know whether maybe can there be some sort of emergency?
Maybe that's it, Jim. Yeah.
Send Brian down. We'll take a look at that.
Okay, just maybe that would speed up whatever permits you guys can get. I don't know.
No, I addressed that with Brian yesterday, and he's on it constantly with the DEC, but their staff has been cut by 2/3, and they're doing a lot of this work from home, and they're so backlogged. It's not an excuse because, Tom, to be honest with you, there are 5 people sitting here right here would love to get that project done tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been talking about that for 2 years.
Bringing to our attention the deterioration is worthy, and I'm going to sit here and compose an email to Brian, even though he's on it, to ask maybe.
I was just checking on that. The last thing real quick is, you say the police boat is using the end of the dock. I'm wondering if maybe the town can explore some way to also include the 2-hour tie-up there so that you can accommodate what was.
I really encourage you to have a discussion with Bo, and then he would bring to us his recommendation after, of course, in consultation with the chief.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that losing that 2-hour thing there was really the town does need to do something there about that. But
Tom, congratulations on being selected for the WMAC, by the way.
that was my other thing. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for applying. You did a nice job.
Quick question, Tom, just so I know, your desire for that 2-hour is to offload product, right?
No, it's actually at the end of the dock. It was traditionally a 2-hour tie-up for launching. You could park your boat there to go move your trailer, or somebody coming ashore for 2 hours would tie up at the end of the dock.
Yeah.
It was actually previously in the code that was what it was for.
Yeah.
So that's what I was just wondering, if there can't be some sort of return to it and have the police boat there. I don't know what the solution is, but.
I don't know. Definitely then what I said. Yeah, is right. You definitely have a chat.
Yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah. Good point, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks,
very
Tom.
much. I guess I should stop into town hall this week then?
Yeah, you have to sign something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna sign your life away, Tom.
That's what I was afraid of, Jim.
Yeah, you gotta take an oath.
Okay, I see the
Thank
town
you.
clerk. I see the
Okay.
town clerk about that.
Yes. Yep.
All righty,
All
thank
right.
you very much.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? Once, twice? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion. We adjourn.
Amen. I say